Hey, recording is successful. We're here on Google Plus. It's Google Plus for the rest of us. It's Google Plus, the place for us. It's Google Plus. I bet it bought some people. Buy those people. Yeah. Buy the people. Gotta get people. Lots and lots of people. The children now. That ought to be in the crowd. Google friends are around. You them till down. This is the original song. This is original. What's going on? Hey Jeff, it's a video of a hangout. My name is Matt Rappaport, and I went live. That's what's going on right now. That is a fact. Is it really original? Jesus, get some sleep, bro. Really, Raleigh Burke? Really? I'm okay. It's only late till 23. I was just singing, whispering to myself as I was inviting people because the beginning was, this is just hangout. Yeah, Gabriel Guzman. It's original, dude. It's an original hangout. This is happening now. It's 12:24 in the morning. And, you want to invite, bro? Alright. You can come in if you want. If you want to be part of the bro crowd. Have a brewsk. There you go, Raleigh Burke. Your dreams have come true. You've been invited to hang out with Matthew. It's funny because I posted about the 8 hours of sleep. So, the Schemer's got the new rally. Who plus won that? Really, Scott B? I don't know who you are, Scott B. Raleigh Burke has entered. Prepare for her to attack me in the loving way that she knows how. She's not here yet. Where is she? I don't see Raleigh Burke. Really weird. It's like the ghost of Raleigh Burke has joined me. It sucks. I mean, what am I trying to do? What do you mean, what am I trying to do? I'm doing it. This is doing. Gabriel Guzman, Jeff Mary. I'm doing it. I mean, Mary Thomas likes it. Raleigh was here and not here. I'm going to bet that Raleigh's going to try again. That's just my first guess. I've done this before. What is this? Bobby Joe, does shiz have to be the first word out of your mouth? Really? It's good that Raleigh Burke's not like my guest on like a planned show. That would be awful. Although late night hangout show with Raleigh Burke after midnight would be fun. I don't know what we do. Get scandalous up in here, with her and me, and you never know what could happen here. Of course I'm gonna +1. Are you kidding me? Yeah, we're +1ing. +1ing people. I love that there's like a track of +1s you can see now. All over the place. What I'm trying to do is just be on Plus. So right now I'm on Plus. I opened up Schemer. I haven't been scheming a ton. I see the new feature. And I only saw the new feature because I opened the What's Hot. Interesting enough. Raleigh Burke for the 3rd time the charm. Where is she? I don't know. I don't see her. Well, the ghost of her is here. Her presence is felt. She's joined like 3 times already. I don't understand. So what's going on out there? What are you guys up to? Are you on your stream? Hey, Mary Thomas. Of course you like it. For the win. Joanne Thomas. No, you sleep? No. What, if you come in here, there's room to sleep. I mean, you're in your own box. You have your own cubicle. for you to sleep in if that's what you want to do. I have some H2O for you, but I guess I could throw it at you. Reminds me of the Waterboy. Did you guys like the Waterboy? Let's talk Adam Sandler. What happened to Adam Sandler? I mean, is it overdone talking about Adam Sandler? There was a time where Adam Sandler made funny movies. It was probably Waterboy was about the time of his demise. And now he's cleaning up. He makes money on all his movies. He gets to hang out with his friends and do whatever he wants. But seriously, let me take a character I created for audio, which is the Jill character, Jack and Jill, and let's make a movie where I play the twin sister of myself. And let's have Al Pacino in that movie, and let's just, why not? I mean, let's take the crap and put it out there, and that's the worst idea I've ever seen for a movie. Yeah, I don't know why it's crashing so much. Weird. Raleigh wants an invite again. Raleigh, you want an invite again? You're going to get an invite again. And you just got one. Now, hopefully the plugin does not crash a million times. Bobby Jo Woods is engaging somewhere else, maybe. Or she's watching. Private eyes. They're watching you. So, the Oscars. Oh, look. Ryan Crowe. Did Raleigh make it in this time? Does Ryan want a piece of this? Are you saying you want a piece of me, Ryan Crowe? Better than Ryan Seacrest. How awesome was Ryan Seacrest getting ashes poured all over him? That dude. He was not too happy. It was a little Tom Cruise-esque when Tom Cruise got shot with a water gun, but not as bad. So, what did you think? Did you watch the Oscars? I just watched The Walking Dead. I'm finally caught up. Oh, no, wait. I'm an episode behind still. Damn it. Never mind. Hey, Elaine. Do you want to come in here? Yeah, I don't understand why Raleigh can't get in here. You can watch all you want. Hey, there's no, like, original television on at 12:30 in the morning, right? So, all right, Elaine, Ryan, anyone else want in? It says Ryan's here, too. It says Raleigh's here. I see a box. Will there be a box? Ryan has made it successfully. Oh, my God.
What up?
Poor Raleigh Burke. 5 times he's been trying to... Now, when somebody tries to get in, does it go... Or, like, what do you guys watching live? I don't know if you were watching live, maybe not. But, I don't know if they hear the sound.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I don't know. But she's like, invite me. You need sleep, but invite me. Like, come in here. I'll invite you again. This is the most invites and join fails in the history of a live broadcast. So what's going on with you, dude? I see you got the snow cap on, or skull cap, or whatever you want to call it.
My hair is
Trainer.
is a bad thing.
Bad thing.
It's really thick, but it's short right now because I buzz it sometimes. I do it for kids' cancer benefit mostly, so I just kind of keep the look. St. Baldrick's is a kids' cancer thing. Anyways, I do it for that, but then when it comes back and I get into that medium area where it's not like good looking and it's not short anymore, then it's right there.
Well, that's interesting to hear, and you still have you have the hair on the bottom of your chin, which is good. Which people enjoy.
I hope people enjoy that. That's the best I can do. I don't know. This is recorded, right?
Yeah, but we'll see if I put it up. We'll see. We'll see what I do. No, I don't care. I like to have ones that are not a show or just to do them. I mean, that's what I was doing at the beginning, and I was gonna start a regular hangout. I was like, well, let me just go live, because then if people don't want to join, I can still kind of have contact with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, which is what happened. People are saying, oh, I don't really want to join. I want to go to sleep, but because I know if I join, I'll get stuck for hours. Oh my God, is Raleigh here? Oh, I bet Raleigh's gonna say, holy hell, guys, 55 times that I tried to join.
I can't hear you, Raleigh.
Get in here.
Can you hear me, Matt?
Yeah, I hear you. You don't hear Raleigh? Yeah, she's got the bus going on.
I gotta turn my thing up. No, I didn't. I was about to say that awkwardly. This might be this is definitely awkward. I don't think I ever went through puberty.
Oh, that part's awkward. Okay, I thought you meant the live thing.
Live.
Yeah, that's awkward for you.
How
could you say you never went through puberty? Look at the hair on your face. What are you
That's
talking
it,
about?
though. That's all I get. That's months of growth.
That's more than a lot of guys.
Oh, is it? Oh, good.
I would think. Yeah, there are guys I can't grow. I've never tried months on my chin. Riley, what do you think? What is your? This is where Riley says it depends on the guy, depends on what it looks like.
Can you grow facial hair, Rappaport?
I've never tried for months. I could grow dirt.
Sharpe?
Dirt.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
No, you won't, because the plugin doesn't like it. Oh, that. Okay.
Well, I also never got tall.
I never got tall.
I don't make man smell. Like, I don't stink, which is kind of awkward.
So is that bad or good? I don't know.
No, it's a good thing. It's one of the pros. I never got pimply. I never got awkward.
Pimply.
But I also never grew up. I'm 5'6". My family's huge. So.
Yeah, but you didn't get pimples or hair, or you're like just a kid.
Yeah,
I guess I never grew up on 5'6".
That would be Ryan.
And I heard that out of context. It was very funny.
I would imagine out of context.
I just never grew up. You know, I'm one of those guys that's 5'6".
I mean, that's right. I think that's.
I'm 5'6" inside.
Oh
wow.
Well, I'm an emotional giant. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Are you a glass case of emotions?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Will Ferrell has joined the hangout. That's awesome. And he laughs like Riley Burke. That's really weird. That's a great. Great impression.
That was good.
That was sweet.
This is my friend Nick Kellogg. He's going to get a profile soon.
Hi, I'm your friend Nick Kellogg. I don't know that.
Is it the same dude we met the other day?
Same.
Yeah, you guys met last week.
Dude.
Same dude. Hanging out with Riley Burke.
You new to me.
Same
New
guy?
to me, Nick.
Yeah, same. I'm the same
That's
dude.
the same dude.
It's the same dude.
I'm the dude with the dude playing the other dude.
We should
That
start
dude.
a band called The Same Dudes.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. First album, A Little Something Different. We'll call it. It's a hit.
Could go.
Look at him trying to feign disinterest because he knows he's a brilliant artist.
Trying to think of the first lyric of the first song. That's all.
That's all.
You've never experienced something like this, and then you have to live up to that for the rest of the album.
Yep.
Man.
But we can do it.
Good.
All right, cool. How many
Same
tracks?
Those same dudes.
How many tracks do you need before it's a real? It's not an EP. You need at least what, 7, 8?
12.
Well, you need a full 12.
Yeah. That's
Or
what I
can be
do.
one
I got all my
long
albums
track.
broken to 12, and that's how I roll.
So if you do 11, that's an EP.
Yeah.
I think it's
Wow.
time, right?
Yeah,
it's how much
time.
time.
It could be 2 fucking songs. They just have to be Pink Floyd songs.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was thinking Pink Floyd too. I was thinking the same.
Who is this guy? I like this guy.
That's Ryan.
That's Ryan.
Hey, man.
Rappaport.
I know Rappaport. How the fuck
Like I don't
do you
love
forget a jawline
Rappaport. I
like
can
that?
tolerate Rappaport.
How do you forget a rounded jawline like that?
Wow.
Have you been dropping the T off your name, Matthew?
Rappaport. That's Riley.
We're gonna
Right.
smoke. It's gonna be pretty cool. I look like a preacher.
Preacher.
You look like a preacher.
That's pretty good.
You got that little white piece?
Yeah, I know.
A preacher that's gonna
Just
give us
hanging
some
out with
evil,
my Baptist preachers,
some
man.
Satan. Contact with Satan. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have one of those.
Well, that's
that'd
too
be-
much out.
That'd be
I
cool to
wanna
have a live seance, right? If we could have something like that.
That would be
That'd
cool.
A live seance. Yeah.
We'd have to get God in on it.
You know
maybe
what?
even the
You know
devil.
what? There's a demon in Raleigh, so we could do it.
Raleigh. Uh-oh.
Raleigh's got-
Riley, who's inside of you tonight? What?
Who said
Oh,
that?
well.
She's drinking something that stinks.
Ew.
Yeah, I know,
Well,
right?
Ryan doesn't stink at all. He lost a man stink. He didn't get
I never got it. I never had
You
it.
never got it. You never went through puberty.
There's nothing to lose.
Well, he did go through puberty because the hair on his face had to happen from
You
something.
don't get BO?
I don't get BO. Nope.
You don't use deodorant either, huh?
I
He
don't.
gets
I don't
BO.
smell.
He stinks.
No, I don't. I don't get like that BO that like you smell it and you're like, I
Yeah,
get like
but when
this
you
little
guys, like,
pussy boy
sweat,
BO,
you
it
don't
takes, like,
smell?
3 days.
I smell like chlorine when I sweat.
That's weird.
Okay.
Yeah, it is weird. I don't know what's wrong with me. I hope there's a doctor out there listening who's like, actually, Ryan, that is severe cancer. So,
Alright, guys. Thanks for the invite, Rappaport. World, I'll see you later.
Got it. Fun.
Fun
Actually,
times. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
I won't spill my ashes on you. Kim Young's ashes. See, bye.
Oh, I should though. That was
Okay.
fun. I love it. It took her like more time to try to get into the hangout than to actually be in the hangout. That is probably a record.
Never hung out with Riley before. She's cool.
That was your first time in ever?
I don't hang out a lot. I've told you that before.
No, I know, but you've been to Mies before. But you're like, oh, an HOA. I'll get into that. No.
I want to. Man, I'm in my final semester of grad school, and the fact that I'm here right now is bad. It's a bad idea, just because I just have so much reading to do, and it's sad because I want to be on Google Plus more, but I just can't be. Like I get to post maybe once a day, and writing those articles. I have to think about that while I'm reading and prepare to write it, and sit down for 10 minutes to write it.
But Google Plus was part of the reason why you got the job that you have, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, that's been something I noticed. A couple of people are starting to get social media or type jobs. You and Samantha. There's two. Okay, two is a couple of people, but
Samantha Villanueva got it?
Yeah, she got a job in Paris.
Oh wow, I haven't talked to her.
Well, she lives in France. Yeah. So, and she's an artist, but I don't know how that'll affect what she's doing. Interesting.
I've been watching, obviously with strong opinions, that debate that you guys started.
The Google Get Social or the one of the other ones.
I've been paying attention, I guess since what I imagined were the seeds of that debate, and then I watched the whole thing, but I haven't been able to comment because I just don't have time. And then finally, I was like,
yeah,
I don't want, I was afraid that, it's not like I was attacking people, but there's certain ideas that I just don't agree with. And people saying those ideas, I'm just like, how can you...
When you say there's certain ideas you don't agree with, you're talking about certain ideas that we're talking about, that Google's talking about, that people in the... what are you...
No, there's trends emerging, I've been trying to keep up with this debate, not just within this group that you guys have, the group that it spawned when you guys were in a hangout with Chris Perillo, for example.
Yeah, Conversations Plus, yeah, we had the big, and it was nice that actually was successful, because you never know what's going to happen in those things,
but there's that conversation's been happening for a really long time.
Even before Plus, yeah.
Yeah, and it finally manifested for enough influential Google Plus users to become a big thing in the community again. Mm-hmm. But there's this, when I said entitlement in the thread the other day, and I've wrote this a few times, and whatever. We're not here to make money on Google Plus yet. If you can make money on Google Plus, that's totally great, but that's just not why it's built yet, or anybody. I'm not saying you in particular. I've never thought that. And again, I know Peter was talking about how he makes content and how it's useful content, and how he thinks it's useful content because he's got numbers, that say people like his stuff. And I'm just like,
no one's owed anything. Everyone chooses to do what they do. You get that. But I think that after spending a lot of time, I don't know. It's like social media in general. Like everyone talks about hiring people to get them. Well, they don't talk about it, but people, don't have a social media following. They're like, oh, they hire people to do that for them because it's important for them and their brand, da-da-da-da. But if you're nobody or you're someone smaller, it's still important, but it's like, I think it's just a matter of, the truth is that we would all like to be able to, we like doing Google+, we like being social, we like putting content out there, we would all like to be able to survive doing it. And to be honest with you, to use Google+ in a way where you're an active user, you kind of have to be doing it even while you're at your real job or take days off. Otherwise, like you said, Ryan, you were saying, like, I really, missed a step or missed things going on. I try to keep up, but you really can't keep up with all of it. Even if you are doing it full time, for pay or no pay, you can't keep up with all of it. So
it's true. It's incredibly hard. Not just on Google+, but across platform. Think about. So, I do it as my job. So I have to constantly be learning. Right now I'm doing the consulting. So I'm actually still at school. I finish in May, but I'm doing consulting parts of my job, and then I'll be able to move full-time into it once I'm done with school in May. And I have a few options on the table. Like I'm still trying to find. I think I have pretty much like 99% where I'm going to end up, but there are some really interesting threads that I have going on still in that. But anyways, what I'm saying is I try to keep up with it across platforms, emerging technologies, and it's incredibly hard. And it's hard on Google Plus by itself. I mean, like I was just saying, I can barely keep up with all the crap that's going on here because I don't have time to sit down and read it all and write it. And I used to be able to post, before my school got really hard. I used to be able to post it.
School got hard.
Yeah, I mean, it was always been hard, but I mean, it's truly difficult now, for me anyway. I mean, people have different experiences with school or whatever, but right now, I used to be able to post 4 or 5 times a day with like lengthy, in-depth posts about what I like, and then I get to interact with people. But now, I've kind of had to sit back and it's been hard because I want to be here. I mean, this is what I want to do. Like when I'm reading, for example, like I'll be reading, one of my courses is Russian intellectual history, so it's philosophy. And they talk about a lot of stuff back then that you can apply to social media. And so sometimes like when I'm reading that, I like start writing notes. I'm like, how could I work this, this school of thought into a social media post? And, so it's hard because I want to be here, like my mind's here, but I'm forced to be in another area. But yeah, you're right. I would love to be able to just make a living off here. But you can. You have the opportunity to. Knowing how to leverage it is good. But you can't rely on the system to work out for you and to be built for you. So you have to do it yourself. Somebody had mentioned...
I like to do it myself. Sorry. For those people that don't give a shit that are watching, I just wanted to throw in something.
Yeah, I don't want to take over this conversation with...
No, that's fine. I'm listening. It does sound like a conversation we probably already had, but Elaine's like, sigh. Hey, Elaine, that's not just... The debate was about like Google and social, but that's not like what we're going to talk about. We're just talking about the idea, less about Google getting social, more right now we're talking about the idea about being able to use Google Plus to... I mean, I guess if you already have some kind of business, you already have something established, Google Plus is a good thing to help jumpstart whatever that is. But you don't have that product or that service, then it's harder,
Yeah.
It definitely is. But I do, like, I have a film, I want to make more films, I have, skills, but who's paying for those skills? I mean, you somehow were able to get people to pay you for your skills. If you can, if you want to offer me any advice, you're like, just apply for jobs. That's not really what you did, right? Someone came to you.
No, I totally did. Here's a funny story. And again, this is going to be me jabber-jawing about this for a couple minutes. I hope you don't mind. But here's some good advice from somebody who, came out of nowhere. I'm getting a master's degree in Russian. Has nothing to do with social media at all. But I decided one day, a couple of years ago, actually in about 2008, I started, saying, hey, I really like social media, and I know it's going to be more than just me talking to my friends on Facebook. And so I started studying it on my own, reading blogs about how it was going to be used for business, and I started reading, Brian Solis and all the big tech bloggers, and they led me to smaller bloggers, and so I just read it all the time when I had time to read all of it. Finally, I got to the point, I think in middle of 2010, where I was like, I can start doing this stuff now. Actually, it was probably early 2009. Well, I was like, I can start doing this. I'm not reading any new theories, and I'm a big theoretical. I like the theory of social media and how it can be used in the future, and not how it stands currently or how to catch up to it for companies. I like the future, which is so pretentious sounding, I think. But
whatever.
But anyway,
you're amongst friends.
Good. Well, finally I was like, and here's where it will help you. I was just like, you know what, I want to do it. So I started figuring out ways to do it, and I started, building up these fake cojones where I just started sending out cover letters because I wanted to do an internship, but I had to stay in Missouri, so I had to be an externship. And I sent out cover letters and a bunch of stuff out to the coasts and these big agencies where I had absolutely no right. There was no conceivable way that I thought that should have been a good idea to me. And a lot of them ignored me. And I sent out a lot. We're not talking...
What's a lot? Like 100? Less? Yeah. More? Okay.
A ton. As many as I could find. I don't remember the exact number. It was approaching 100, probably not more than that. but a lot of them didn't pay attention to me, whatever. You know, I was how old was I? I was like 20, 21 or 22 with no real experience. But I did get letters back from some people, and I got some calls from some people. And they were like, what are you doing? You know, so they just lambasted me. I got it from all over. You know, I took it. And,
they took the time. Wait. You applied for jobs, and they took the time to call you back to yell at you for applying?
Well, they didn't yell at me. They were just like, we got your cover letter. We just wanted to know what you think is going to happen here. Because they're like, and I was like, oh, well, I wanted to do an internship.
Corner office.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I didn't know what I expected, but they started telling me stuff that I was doing wrong. And so I started to take that in, learning from the mistake. And they weren't really mistakes. It was a good learning experience. But I finally started figuring it out, and I started to become, more viable to companies, and the conversation started to last longer, and they started to get longer. And then, they got to the point where they're like, oh, this kid has no experience. He reads a lot. Maybe he's got a future, but he doesn't know what's going on. Finally, and this is the final where I was like, okay, well, I really need to start working on my social media presence. I contacted this one agency in New York called Morpheus Media. And there was this woman who worked there. She was the staffing person for, I think, the social part of the agency. Her name is Kate Van Arsdale. I still remember her name. She got on the phone with me, and she's like, this is a really impressive letter. We'd like to see what we can do for you. And we went in this great conversation, and then she goes, hey, can you send me your LinkedIn? And I go, well, I don't have a LinkedIn. Man, I received the most humiliating lambasting that I'd ever gotten from any of the people I'd ever talked to. She's like, how do you think you're going to work in blah, blah, blah? You're applying to a major agency, social media agency. You don't even have a LinkedIn. And she's like, here. And then she said, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to forget this conversation happened. And I want you to go make a LinkedIn, figure that out, and, work on your social media presence, and you can call me back when you have figured it out. So I did it. And by the time I was ready to call her back, she had gotten a job somewhere else, but it was but that was after, and then I got on Google Plus actually, and I've always wanted to reach out to her and be like, hey, look what you did for me. She lit the fire under my ass. That's really what happened. And anyway. So
wait, you contacted her before Google Plus? That was before or during?
Before. So I mean, I had 400 followers on Twitter. Nothing, right? I mean, that's a.
Yeah, it's nothing in the scheme of things. I mean, to an average person, that might be okay, but to someone that's doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I had started working with this boutique social media agency in a small town that I lived in, and that was off the merits of a pretty solid recommendation, face-to-face recommendation that somebody had. And I got to go to China and do some cool stuff over there with a printing company where I was talking to their social media team and.
So you worked with a couple of social media teams. Are they? Give me a feel for the different social media teams and how they actually work. Is it like us sitting there and like occasionally typing a tweet in a Facebook and goofing off, or would it look like? Give us an idea of what social media people are doing. These teams.
Well, sure. Well, there was this. The first company I worked for was this. Well, the first thing I ever did was, where I really actually started working in social media. Was I wrote this huge campaign for this not-for-profit called AAMDS, which is I can't even remember what that stands for. It's a anemia plastia, some kind of weird disease I can't say. And I wrote like, here's how you engage people on your college campuses across the country. Here's a hierarchy that you need to do it within your like an internal structure for business. You need regional people. You need people on campuses. And I wrote this huge thing and finally, and this is just me working on my own with, talking to the marketing people at this place. And finally I'd written, and they're like, this is great, now can you do it for us? I'm like, yeah, sure, set me up for a job. And they're like, oh, we just want you to do it for free as an intern. But this, this huge thing that I'd written, there's no way that it would be, no smart way that it would be run by an intern, because, the intern would be responsible for hundreds of people. Anyway, so I finally showed that to one of my friends who had a friend who was starting a social media agency in my small town here in Columbia, Missouri. And they hired me, and they didn't really know. They knew that social was necessary, but they didn't really know how to do it. So we were kind of figuring it out together. So the way that team worked is they brought in a bunch of people who were social media savvy, and we all talked about the businesses that were our clients. And so we're like, what is a good idea here? And so we had all these great ideas. We had this thing called the War Room, and we worked on each other's clients, and we brainstormed. However, the execution was never was never sound. It never got to that level. So, but I think that the idea of more than one head working on something is a good idea. So what we would do is we would talk to the clients, see what they wanted to talk about, what kind of voice they wanted. There was different levels of how much they paid. So if they paid at the lowest level, then we just asked them for content. We posted it for them.
Right. Well, so that's weird. So the lowest, like the cheapest thing they can have is you just literally copying and pasting.
Content management, and
And so give me an idea of an estimate of range, like just for if I'm a company and I want to hire a social media company. I know it depends on the company, but just to take the content we have from our website and put it on Twitter and Facebook and Plus, I'm guessing that's it, right? Just those three, or were you doing Tumblr and other shit? That was before.
That was before Google Plus happened when I started working there. So it was basically we would find the platforms. It was part of the strategy consulting. We would find the platforms that would work best for the company. Now these were small clients. We're talking like an allergy specialist was one of them. So what's going to work best for an allergy specialist? Well, the allergy specialist probably is not going to have a bunch of clients who are on Tumblr, and probably not going to have a bunch of people who are on Twitter. So we wanted to focus on Facebook. Probably.
But that's a mistake. Anyway, keep going.
Well, here's what we did: is we're like, here are the places that people, if they're going to go on social, are most likely to go, and we picked out Facebook and Twitter. Right, that's the best places. And we had a company blog for them set up, and we started sharing information there. They weren't paying enough for us to be a full-time like in-house social person, which is a subscription level, but they weren't paying that much. They were paying pretty basic.
So give me an idea. I mean, can you give me an idea of what that amount was?
Yeah, although I don't think that this amount is correct.
Just guess.
Well, no. I mean, I know what the amount was, but I don't think it's the right amount for what people should be paying.
Well, what were they? So that's another issue that's important too. So, was this what the company set up, or this is all they were willing to pay?
Well, I wasn't there for the selling of the
negotiations. Yeah.
But I think it was like $379 per month for that.
What?
Yeah, and that part of that was given to the company, and then the social media people were consultants. So
how many hours though do they expect for $379 a month? Like 5?
Good question. That's one of the things. That's one of the main reasons why I ended up leaving. Having an issue with that company, because they would just keep adding on stuff to do, and they're like, oh yeah, this will fit into about, because they said with the basic package you're working maybe I'm making this number up 5 hours a week or something just to get that stuff on there, but then they would keep adding stuff on, and I don't think they realized that doing social media is not just copy paste click. It's research and looking up, when the best time to post things is, and it's coming up with a strategy and making sure that strategy is going to work in long term, and it's monitoring how other people are using the industry. And I'm like, I'm already doing too much, and so they just kept adding on stuff, and they're like, oh well, this is going to fall in a package, this is going to fall in the same package, this is going to fall in the same package, right. And all of a sudden I'm getting paid the same amount, even though I'm doing 7 times the work that I was originally doing. So.
If they're paying $379 a month, the company has to make some kind of profit from that, so you're not getting that whole thing.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I'm not getting that much money.
And even if you were to get the whole thing, that's like, that's the problem is that 370. So yeah, that's the problem with the whole industry is that people want to pay less and get more.
Exactly.
But how do you live? How does anyone live on that?
Well, the idea is that if you can do social media efficiently, here's the idea that I don't like, that social media can be automated by a human, well, and also by automation programs, and so that social media presences can be automated by one person, and one person can handle 30 clients a week, and do all their social media just because what they're doing is copying, pasting content. But what you start to lack there is real time that you get to plan and strategize, create strategy and tactics, not just the automatic way to post stuff. You don't just post. There has to be...
Well, that's my big problem too, is that, that's easy. I guess it's easy to do it that way. It's time-consuming, but if you really want results, just copying and pasting the information is... I'd rather your social media has, nothing except for, the basic information, and then you go right into town and start interacting with the community where you are. And that alone would do much better than, oh, we have a sale, oh, we have this next week, we have an event, we have this, that's a lot of, I know companies that do giveaways, it's like bribery, it's you know, we're going to give away an iPad, or we're going to give you $25 gift card, and they get all the likes, but all those likes are not organic because they're bribery likes. So now your page has 7,000 likes, and I come to your page that has 7,000 likes, say on Facebook, and I see like there's like, wait, 7,000 people like you, but like every post has like 0 or like 2 people interacting with it. It's because those 7,000 people don't give a shit about you. They only cared about winning an iPad.
Well, so then you start getting these camps of people who do social media, and there's one that fall into the kind of, I would say, a reactionary camp. They say, you know, we're going to do what works so far, and right now that's broadcasting messages. We're getting people to like our page because we're giving away things. Chances are at some point that one of those 7,000 people is going to see what I want, and they're going to buy from me, so we're generating leads, even though we're not actually interacting. And then we have this word engagement that's being thrown around, where it used to mean something, but now it is just a word that people need people to hear, so they think that they get social media. And it's a concept that is so vague that people just use it now. People who are just getting into the social media game will go into an employer where they're trying to get a job or something. You know, people are trying to be new social media strategists. They're like, oh, well, I think that social media, the real basis and foundation of social media, and they say it with conviction, and they put their fist in front of their face and they clench it, and they're like, it's engagement. You've got to engage with your audience. But then, you know, when you start to really dig into that word and what they think engagement means, they're like, you know, it's having a conversation. Another trite and already overused word. Having a conversation. What does that mean to people? So
it's very general.
Yeah, and it's still, you know, what's funny is that people who, I think that people who work in social media and have been for a little while know that engagement and conversation by themselves. I mean, again, I think they're useful terms because sometimes that's the only word we have to describe stuff. But conversation and engagement by themselves, trite. And unless somebody can expound upon those ideas with originality, then it doesn't mean anything. You might as well be saying, okay, well, I'm going to go out there and broadcast. And so when you say, what do you mean by engagement and trite? Well, they're like, oh, well, we ask questions with action words and, you know, invite people to interact. And, you know, again, you start getting these slogans, these mottos that are so popular and they sound great and people love to hear themselves say it. But that's reactionary. You're trying, by using those words, you're not really, in my opinion, understanding how social is going to work. Because by using those words, you're playing catch-up. You're playing catch-up, and if you keep using those words and think that you're doing best practice...
But people are getting hired, right, by using those words. Like what... The people that are doing the hiring use those words too. Like there's like the mindset, right? Tell me, I've only done independent stuff. I worked for a couple of companies from home, but I've never gone I was never full on, and they do their own thing anyway. They don't listen to me. Like I'll set stuff up and then they run with it. Because for them, they just want eyeballs, but they don't get they don't understand it. You would rather have 10 people that are engaged. Not engaged. All right, fine, whatever word. 10 people that are active.
Something, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying based on what you said. 10 people that are going to be active with your site and content, then 8,000 people that are going to look at it once. I mean, and never come back. So, I think that's the big question they have to ask. Do you want to show people a site that has numbers on it that mean nothing? And I think that's another Google Plus. Going back to Google Plus, I could show you all my followers, but if they're not being part of what I'm doing, does that mean anything, right? So. Yeah.
Well, so then there's that old question, right, that you just said. It's quality over quantity. That term, while it may be true, and I think it's true, and we have to define what quality means in a bit, but unfortunately that does not fit into the I need to see numbers model of the baby boomer generation, where they're not willing to change. They're saying we need to see numbers and we need to know how each like is going to represent a cent. What dollar amount do I put on a follower? There's just, we can't. I don't think, and I might be wrong. You're wrong. And this might be developing right now in places that I just don't know about. But right now measuring social media and its worth is incredibly difficult. Sentiment analysis, social media.
Well, it depends on how much money you have. I think that if you have enough money where people knowing about your brand and exposure is enough for you, then it's worth it. But if you're a company where you really need social media to help you with sales, then you're fucked a little bit.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to gauge. Now, one of the things that I don't have is a lot of experience with the really advanced social media monitoring stuff like Radian 6, because that costs a lot of money. And so if you want to be able to use that stuff, you have to be a part of a huge organization.
It's like an analytics, basically.
Mm-hmm. And Radian 6, and there's other ones like Scout Labs, which I'm playing with right now. Luckily, the place where I think I'm going to end up is able to get me enough resources that I can play with some of these bigger platforms. I finally got to play with Radian 6. I'm just starting to play around with it, which is so great. But yeah, these are monitoring platforms and stuff.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, to me, it only makes sense that social media, what the companies do, is not really that much different than we're doing here right now. It's basically the same, except there's a business to represent. So certain things you don't want to say or do, and you don't want to present the company or brand wrong. But if you can't, I keep saying engage because that's the word that's been thrown around. But if you can't talk to people on a level like this, then you're never gonna get them. It's about influence, right? The point of social media is to find people and then influence them to be involved in your product or your company or whatever. And if you can't influence them to do that, then that's it. Then it doesn't matter that they like your stuff or they write, "Oh, that's cool." Like
yeah. Well, and that's why you were asking earlier about a team. Here I think that a social media team is a requirement. I mean, I think that it's not just a social media strategist. For one, it's somebody who can liaise between the social media team and the actual company, who can teach them what's going on. So it's kind of like an internal account executive. Then you need the strategist or strategist, and then you need community managers, and then you need people to implement, and then you need content curators. I think that's a solid team structure. Now, I might be, again...
Tell me, there are companies where they have one person expected to do all of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, right now I think
paid less.
I think it's working, but I don't think it will for long. Because people are going to start expecting more out of social media presences. The consumer is going to adapt to what they're getting. And since, they can figure out, the social media users, the consumers who are on social, are going to figure out, who's doing it right, and then they're going to start expecting that, and the expectations are going to grow. And so all of a sudden, this position that is social media manager, where they do all of that stuff, one person, I mean, they might be able to do it. Again, I don't know if I could do that just by myself, and do it as well as and then have time to study, strategies that might affect the future, by myself, and then implement. I mean, I could. I don't know. That's one of the problems. One of my main problems right now is that I've never been able to dedicate my entire. I've been in school, so I've had very little time to dedicate, a 40, 50-hour week to running one company's social presence. Especially because I've worked in agencies where I run many. So interesting how that's going to turn out.
So these social media that you worked for, they paid you. You were getting paid salary, weren't you?
I'm going to be getting paid salary for this upcoming one. I kind of get a salary now, but what I've been is a consultant right now. So I have my own. I actually don't have my own business or anything, but I just get brought in as a W-9, where they say, "Hey, you consult, you do it," and like a contracted.
But what they're paying you on the W-9 is it? I mean, do they expect you to work 40-hour weeks for it, or like what are we talking? Like, give us an idea how many hours they expect you to work, and roughly what you make per week, or if you want to, based on this kind, if you want to say that.
Well, I mean, right now, as I'm preparing to take on a salary, I'm still getting W-9. I'm still W-9 technically, but I'm getting salary. So I work basically, what is it? 20. I work 20 hours a week, and I get paid about $1,600 a month for that. That's what I get paid right now. But with the other company, it was paid by client, and whatever the subscription level was. So let's say if I was working at a basic subscription level, 5 hours a week, and I'd make, half of the money that was the subscription cost. And
so you are getting paid $20 an hour, right?
Now I am, but at
From
the
what
other
you just said.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this: so it's $20 an hour to me. I think like people working at McDonald's are making what, like $10 an hour, so, or $12 an hour, and then you know, you have people doing like data entry and filing making $15, $16, $18 an hour. So is $20 an hour insulting? Cheap? I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Well, right now I don't think so for me, because I'm getting agency experience and I'm working as a sort of apprentice. I mean, it's an apprenticeship, I guess, and I'm half salary right now, so I'll end up getting twice as much that I do now. I mean, this is I guess, and then, again, this is theoretical. I will be getting paid twice as much when I finally get to go in and be part of that office, and it'll be a salary. So it'll be salary based, not hourly based, but it'll amount to about 40.
And so these 20 hours, 20 hours of work. Obviously, nobody is creating content 20 hours straight. You're logging in, you're reading, you're researching, you're gathering, you're on the phone, you're in meetings. You obviously, during the 20 hours at some point, do get lunch, you do get to pee, you do, like, you know, so you're not, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is that, but do you find, like, you do the 20 hours from home? Do you have to log the hours and keep track of it, or?
No. Okay. So I'm at school, so my hours are I don't have to log in, I don't have to log hours. They just assume that I'm doing it, and I am, because, you know, one, if I'm not doing it, then it's pretty easy to see. But I also have to make a good impression. Also, everything that I do on social media has the potential at some point to be part of my oeuvre, you know, my portfolio. It's something I get to use in the future. So one of the interesting things about this, and I haven't actually thought about this before, that especially with an artistic thing, I don't think social media is artistic, but when you're creating stuff...
Oh, it is. There's creative, yeah.
Well, there's some of it is. Anyway, I don't know how to describe it. I've never actually thought about that, and I don't want to offend anybody, because everybody has different views on it. But
there's an art form. It's writing. It's creative writing, in a sense.
Yeah. No, I guess you're right. No, sure. Okay. So anyway, it's the fact that me doing well is going to benefit me more than it might even benefit the company, which just ensures that I'm going to be doing the work that I should be doing. So most of my time is spent on research. And the cool thing about research for social media, you know, is just reading and synthesizing information, creating my own theories about stuff. That is not only helping me with this job, but this will help me with all future jobs. And so that's kind of the nice double I get, you know. I'm
a stepping point.
Yeah. Now, do I think that $20 an hour is something that somebody who's working full-time at a social media agency or any company should get? Probably not. There's a lot to do. And if you're good at your job, you should get paid more than that. And you're worth what people think you're worth and what you can prove that you're worth. Do I think, you know, one of the things that I don't have is I don't have a background in marketing or PR or advertising. It's something that I picked up on my own. So one of the things I have to do to make up for that lack of, you know, proof that I have an idea of what's going on is I have to get experience.
Yeah, and so, but now I feel like in the year 2012, and may call me crazy, but people talk about experience and how many years you've done this and that, but if you've been doing stuff on your own independently and you literally can show what results you've garnered on your own without any of that stuff, like, aren't results more important or not really?
Well, no, I think that's a good point, and that's what I mean, that's actually what I say when I, you know, that's my whole, I think that's what gives me, that's when I go to interviews, I'm like, you know, I don't have this academic education about this, and so I don't have any ideas that'll be obstacles for me in terms of pre-existing business models, because what I would like to consider myself as a futurist. This is how I think it's going to work. I'm basing this off of my experience and being in social media. I use the term digital native. I grew up and I've always been on the computers, and I've been in social media, you know, I don't know, since I was like, you know, 9 years old, 10 years old.
Right.
Growing up with that's something that
that's
something you can't teach. It's something that you pick up. So yeah, I think that people who don't have that kind of experience, now a lot of people are going to be like, you know, it's crap, you need to have some kind of formal idea of what business is.
Do they ever actually ask you about, like, how many followers you have on social networks and what your cloud score is and things like that, or they don't care?
You know, I've never asked that. I've never been asked that, but my job search experience is not what I would consider normal. I have met people on the way I got my original job was just in meeting the right person at the right time and being recommended to the right person at the right time, and then getting experience through there. And then the other job that I got with the company that I'm talking about now, that I'll be working with in the future, they found me on Google+, and I reached out to them too. I said, hey, I saw you following me on Google+. I just wanted to see, because they were an advertising agency in St. Louis, where I'm from. So, I just reached out to them just to have a conversation, and then ended up turning into a job opportunity. So I never had to go through a submit your resume thing. It was just conversation. And I think one of the things that was attractive about me to that company was all of the articles that I had written about my theories about social media that I'd put on Google+.
Speaking of, there's Elaine.
Whoa. Miss Sharpe.
I had to get some sharpness in here. Love that profile picture.
I'll talk to you in a while. Miss Sharpe.
Hello, Elaine. Okay, one second.
Times to wait.
Continue propagating.
Well, here's what I would say to you. If you're looking for a social media job.
I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, but yeah, say to me.
Well, for anybody. And I'm about to swear, which I don't do very often.
It's fine, fucking swear, it's fine.
Okay. Just fucking do it. That's my advice. You go out there, just fucking do it doesn't mean go out there and do it haphazardly. Figure out what you want and then go get it.
Right.
People are hiring for social right now. They have to. It's not a fad. If talking was a fad, then social media is a fad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's so many companies so you're saying there's still companies that exist that say F social media, we don't want to pay for that, right? Or that's not.
Oh, I bet there is. And I don't think they would say that outwardly, because I think people would be like, what? Especially if they heard it on social media. The thing is, companies, whether or not they want to be, are on social media. If you technically don't have a social media presence, your company doesn't have a Facebook page, but you're a company that has customers, they're probably talking about you on social media. You don't get. That's one of the things that companies are scared about, is that the power of that company to control their information has gone. Because people will talk about it whether or not they're in the environment or not.
Hey, Elaine, we're not. This isn't formal. This is just us shooting the shit. But it turned into. I felt like conversations for 5 seconds, jumping on.
No, it's been really great. Hi, Ryan. It's been a while.
Hey, yeah.
How you doing?
How are you? Yeah, I decided to go live because I figured I don't know who was up this hour, and I don't wonder.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really interesting conversation. This whole thing with. I missed the entire debate somehow the last few days. I kind of elevated myself somewhere else. I was dealing with other things, and I wasn't really following. But I know there was a lot of discussion about how to be a social media guru,
Right.
and it was annoying to me, actually. I have to be quite honest. I found it really annoying after a certain point, because there's a lot of sense of entitlement and jockeying for position with people who are not necessarily prepared or know anything about the business of having a business. I don't know. It was just a really strange thing, and I guess I come from the completely opposite angle that Ryan's coming from, where I've had a lot of experience also doing, I did a startup company, so for somebody else, and so I know what it entails, and it's not as simple as people seem to be assuming, that it's about personality or that it's about the number of followers. You have to be able to address businesses on their own terms, and that's, I think, where a lot of people
in
kind
their
of
language.
fail, right? In
their language. In their
language. I mean, you have to go to them, you have to understand that they're spending money on things, and they have to, especially with the upper-end companies, they have to be able to track that back and be able to, tell their stockholders or whomever it is, they have to be able to speak in a language that is understandable. And in a lot of cases, I think that social media people are being hired for that kind of business acumen, not because they necessarily know anything, and that's why we see a lot of failure of social media. I mean, I'm sure if you take a look at the people who were doing it for Coke or Pepsi or whatever it was, brand names.
No, you can say
looking
that.
at some of the pages that were trying to be successful here, and the failure of actual knowledge of social media. They may be great business people, but they really don't know anything about how to promote themselves.
And
these
companies would rather hire people that are business people than people that can
Absolutely.
succeed.
I think so.
because they feel more comfortable.
I think so, and that's why, Ryan, when you were saying that you needed to have a LinkedIn page, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right, but that's not what we're talking. Yeah.
Because it says something about your seriousness, and it's funny because we don't think of ourselves as being serious when we're engaging with each other. And I like that word, fuck it. I don't care how lazy it's become. I'm going to use it anyway. When we are engaging with each other and having conversations, it's a very casual sort of flow of the moment thing. But if you have the parameters built within your persona, you can do those things without thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's interesting that you say that you can do it without thinking about it. A lot of people will ask, again, we're using the word engagement. It's like, well, what helps you engage? And that's a hard question to answer because you just want to say, I just do it, But that sounds so ridiculous to a business.
They need it laid out. They need to see it.
Primarily, it's using manners. I mean, really, a lot of people who are dealing with this kind of business end of social media, the best investment they could make would be in a sort of a book about etiquette, because that's really when you are in a situation where it gets sticky and things get heated. If you can default, and you know what those defaults are, to a certain kind of structure of social interaction, then you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. You know when to back off. You know when to make a comment that's appropriate and when to not make a comment. It's all social rules are social rules, whether you're online or not.
Right.
And that's a very old talent. That's something.
Absolutely.
You have. We're talking. Like 18th, or not 18th, but like 19th century literary salons. They had a host who would host that, and they made sure that everything was smooth. And that's
absolutely
old
so that things can flow the way they're supposed to flow without any of the things that will go wrong becoming an issue.
Right.
And so, what do you think about what social media, what it's worth to pay? Like, is it just everyone
what I got
for
paid?
things? Oh, you could say what you got paid if you want, but do you?
Well, when I was doing, I would say it worked out actually to about $200 an hour for me, but I'm worth
Canadian or American?
Canadian, which is almost at par. Don't forget. But I bring a whole lot of. My CV is quite rigorous, So
but $200 an hour was you had a consultant job, or you or
yeah.
Okay.
And it was very specific. And actually, somebody else came to me afterwards when I was no longer working with that company. There are lots of different ways to strategize your fees and what you're going to be paid and how you're going to be paid. And I think that being an artist and having a professional practice as an artist gave me a lot of openings to thinking creatively about how to actually engage with that financial discussion. So, it's value. It's what you bring to that situation. And my value as someone who has been, unlike the name curator on Google+, I actually was a paid curator. So, I know how to do the things that are involved with curation, which goes beyond the simple placing of something and saying, here it is. There's research. It's very research intensive. My PhD gives me credence, in that sort of way. There are all these things, having taught for a decade at the university level, all those things add a certain level of credibility, and you have to know how to express those things in a way that a client becomes interested.
But how many people would you say more people than less have your kind of experience to a university level of teaching that go into this?
Here's the issue. People are going to hire Ryan before they're going to hire me.
Because he's younger.
Because he's young. And it's absolutely,
so that means
it's a given.
To them.
A baby boomer doesn't want to see me looking at them. There's always this thing about, there's always young, excitement, the edge. Someone who's not local is more exciting than someone who's local. There are all these sorts of things that.
But they're also going to they're not paying Ryan $200 an hour anytime soon. So.
That's true.
Yeah, I know. So who do you think they're going to hire? They're going to hire the $20 an hour guy instead of the $200 an hour woman who's going to do the job more efficiently. Now that's the other thing.
Well,
honestly, I can do in the right field and with the right endeavor and with the right level of interest on my part and the right situation. I can do more in an hour because I have that knowledge than the average understudy or, apprentice would be able to bring to that. So they're paying me to be efficient.
One of the things that I don't have that he definitely has is I don't have a lot of in working within big businesses right now. So one of the reasons why, I probably could charge more if if maybe that's something I had. But one of the things that I don't mind that I'm getting not only salary, but I'm getting that experience like I mentioned earlier. I'm learning to work within a corporate structure, something that I don't have to do. That's something that I need to learn and that I like learning.
And the joy of it, Ryan, is that you're being paid to learn.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing. I'm no longer being paid to learn. I'm being paid to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's a completely different end of the spectrum kind of thing. Would I put myself in a situation where I don't know what I'm doing and ask for that kind of money? Ethically, no. But there are people who do.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the, that's another thing. Like, it's hard for me to going somewhere and be like, man, give me $200 an hour, and then I'll integrate with your team seamlessly, blah blah blah, and I'll fit into your corporate structure, just like that. I don't have that, and I think I would be outed fairly quickly if I tried to promise that.
If you were a consultant, how many clients do you think it's fair to say? It depends on their needs and all that, but how many clients at one time do you think it's fair to say if you were the only one? I guess it depends what they expected of you, right? There are a lot of factors if you're going to answer that, but
there are so many factors that enter into financial negotiation.
No, right, but not just that. But I'm saying, like, I'm sure you did social media for more than one company at one time, or no?
I've never done social media.
Oh, okay. No.
I have never done social media. I've done the whole package.
Oh.
So I've never been a social media specialist. Doesn't mean I can't do it. I have done, the whole thing. I've been the manager of the managers. So, could I do it now? I'm not interested in doing it now.
Yeah. I'm not interested in sitting there and typing somebody's tweets. That's not something I'm interested in doing.
No, it completely feels... And somebody did approach me, actually. Somebody in upstate New York approached me to do a consultancy and to do their social media programming. And as much as I would have, been able to step up and do that, I didn't have a firm belief in the entire project, and that wouldn't have done anybody any favors. And I think that's the difference. Like, you might want to do that because it would, Ryan, because it would bring you some kind of, experience. I'm no longer interested in experience for experience's sake.
Yeah.
I'm at a stage of my life now where if I'm going to do something, I love working, don't get me wrong, but if I'm going to do something, it has to be something that I can support on all levels, and that's, otherwise I won't do as good a job as I would, and I know that about myself. I'm very honest with my work ethic that way.
Well, that's a great point. One of the problems I had with my original agency is that they just wanted me to go in there and do other people's tweets and type what they, that's content management. That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's not social media strategy.
That's like a drone.
Well, and it's, I need it.
Matthew, that's what you're going to have to do in the startup, in the beginning. What people have this expectation.
And I've done it,
A sense of entitlement that they're just going to strut in and say, I got 37,000 followers on Google Plus, and I'm fabulous. Well, yeah, you are within that regime, but that's not what we want from you. What are you going to bring to us?
Right. I've worked for a company independently, and I've worked on not just Google Plus, Twitter, and Facebook, and other websites, and people's companies' blogs and things like that. But it's just a matter of it's people don't grasp their strategies are obviously to Ryan.
See, but that's not it. It's not that they don't grasp it. You're not selling it. You don't know how to sell it to them. And I'm not saying you in particular. I'm saying you know how to sell.
Yeah, but let me ask you this though. My experience is it's not even that I couldn't. It wasn't even me and me selling. It was that I worked with companies that were startups that they had their asses were their heads were up their asses, and they literally were. What they were giving me to put out there was not ready for public consumption.
Sure.
And so at that point...
You have to be a negotiator, and you have to be a diplomat. You have to be a diplomat. You have to know which hill you're going to die on, and you have to know what your reputation matters to you. And my reputation matters a great deal to me at this stage of my life. I'm not going to. The reason I've moved on from academia is because it was no longer doing my reputation personally any favors. It wasn't doing me any favors to me. Doesn't matter how it was perceived by anybody else. To be working in that kind of unethical environment is something I simply couldn't do for my personal reputation. So reputation matters, and don't ever think it doesn't. It eventually adds up, and if you've done something that, wasn't quite right for you, and you don't step out when it's time to step out, that'll follow you.
Yeah.
So you're Dr. Sharpe.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Close.
I'm writing.
Very close.
Writing to get to that doctor.
Yeah, I will be, though. And actually, my PhD is in media philosophy. Which,
wow.
Yeah, so I have a more philosophical approach to social media than the average consumer of social media, if you want to call it that. We're not consuming it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I have a very different sort of... I'm far more interested in the social than in the media, because the medium itself makes sense to me. I'm trying to uncover what doesn't, because that's my sort of tangent as a researcher. I want to know the social aspects of it. So if I had a job drop in my lap that was about animals, I would be delighted. This sort of other kind of aspect of, instigating and concentrating and all the rest of that stuff that you have to do to get it out there, and managing the sort of data analysis and stuff, it's peripheral to my current interests. That's how I would describe it.
I had no idea that that's what you were. I would have. Yeah, we should talk about that. What kind of
because I don't talk about. I'm not here to do this, and I look at people who are angling for position, and I just think, this is what happens in the art world, because people know me as sort of like the art world person, right? So what happens in the art world is that you are always, every minute of every day, being interviewed. There isn't an interview that takes place that says, we are going to hire this person, or we're going to give this person an exhibition, or we're going to curate this person into a show. That doesn't happen on a sort of an interview basis. That happens in the reality of the exchange of who you are. Who you are. That's it. It's who you are.
That's life. Yeah.
But if you stink of desperation, you will never get what you're looking for. And I see
you see a lot of people are, yeah.
I see a lot of the stench of desperation, like, yeah, I'm fabulous, I'm really fabulous, I'm really fabulous, now look at me, I'm fabulous, and it's like it escalates because the response isn't being given that's being looked for. So,
and I agree with you.
People have to know that is not doing them a favor.
I agree with you, and I've told people to back off of things, and sometimes I feel we could all go too far on things, but especially this whole thing with the suggested user list. Okay, this has been a discussion over the past few days, and if you actually listen to the people who are on that list, they keep saying it's not what you think it is. But people are so blinded by this desire to think that these, this being put on this list and being followed by all these people is going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. Well, the reality is it's not. It's going to take up a lot of your time that you could be using to spending on, your CV and your LinkedIn connections and all the rest. Like, stop barking up the wrong tree. I think Google Plus gets social.
What about?
I think the people who don't get Google Plus are the ones who are trying to make it into a job.
What about for someone like me, though, that sells his art in an Etsy shop, and if I was on the suggested user list, all I have to do is post my art and a link to it. I'm not here to... The content I'm creating is art. I'm not writing a blog post. I'm not making content where I'm like, here's how to get on Google Plus and make the most of it. And
yeah, but these...
so basically for me, if I was on the suggested user list, or a photographer like Trey is, I know Trey goes above and beyond. He posts pictures, he hosts Hangouts and that stuff. But, would I have to do that also? I mean, is he making sales?
The people don't know you. So
I'm saying if they did, Matt.
Yeah, if you go and pay attention to the conversation that took place on Billy Wilson's wall about suggested user list, I think it's a conversation from yesterday. If you read the whole thing, and there's a point at which, Michelle Marie and a couple of other people come in and they talk about the reality is, like, I think Trey has made like one sale on Google Plus. Somebody else put out a call for funds for a very, a reasonable charity that she was trying to work towards, and she had one donation, and that was from a friend who'd already promised. So
that was somebody that was on the suggested user list?
Yeah. It doesn't
Okay.
Go and read it. It's very revealing.
Yeah,
and it confirms what I had suspected, which is, at this point, I'm just a schmo. I turned up on Google+. I could have had a position in the photo world if I had sort of pushed myself that way, because that's where I come from, but I didn't want to do it. So I'm just a schmo working my way up, and I now have like close to 17,000 followers. How many of those people actually matter in any way in terms of an interaction? I would say like 10%. So
not even that much. Maybe 1,000.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, here's what I would say about that, and this is what I've been saying, and it kind of goes with what PE is saying. I'll call you PE. Is it Elaine? I don't.
Yeah, but people call me P, so that's fine.
I like that's what I've known you as in my head since.
I know, and it's fine. It's fine. It's okay.
This
is interesting. We've all known each other since July, right?
Yeah.
I remember Aaron's posters.
First-gen users. Oh, yeah.
And to me, I can't, especially since it didn't really snow that much this winter, I can't tell the difference between, like, the months, really. So,
yeah.
It's scary.
You got to get out of the basement there, Matthew.
I have, but yeah.
I know you have.
So what are you going to say?
Here's what I have to say about that. People who are here and, in their head, and this will include you and Peter McDermott and people who are trying to make money, you have the opportunity to make money here. And, if you get to be creative and you get to use your own smarts and your wits and you get to grab people in to make money. And you've got followers now, I'm about to do it, you being an engaging personality, I think that's slightly better. And being awesome like you are, and you talking to people and you creating art and people saying, hey, Aaron Wood, you've made a sale for me, I've got it right next to me. You've already made money off of me.
So how did you decide to make the sale? Like, how did you decide to buy from Aaron? Like, that'd be interesting to hear. How did you just saw him?
Well, Aaron and I go pretty far back. When we were making
in online years, that must be
since July, or
well, more in depth than just knowing each other on Google+. When I started Sociology Plus, Aaron had previously made these really awesome, his famous propaganda posters, and I was like, Aaron, and me and Christina Trepolino at that time, who has disappeared from the face of Google+.
Because she got a job, right?
Because she got a job, and she didn't need it anymore.
Posted today.
She did?
Yeah, she's back, and she was really busy, but she's going to try to do her Circle Sunday thing. But yeah, so I saw she posted about noon today or something.
The last time I had checked, which was yesterday, the last time she posted was February 2nd. I was like, wow, where did she go? But we had asked Aaron to do some of the artwork for Sociology Plus, and he had made a sweet splash screen, and that's how Aaron and I knew each other. And then I, followed his, and I love the stuff that he makes. I mean, I think it's so cool. I'm a Russian major, so the propaganda is right up there for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Master's student anyway. Anyway, so that's how I found Aaron. But for people who are trying to make money, you Google whether or not you see it this way, and I think you should, because it'll make you feel better about the experience. What they have given you is a platform, and you get to use your personality to say it, to sell, and to be here, and you get to get followers, and you have the opportunity to get followers, which are eyeballs on your work, which is a chance for you to reach out to them and generate leads for yourself. That's what you get. Peter McDermott was talking about how he hadn't gotten dividends. I'm like, Peter, you have 38,000 people. You have 38,000 people.
Peter and me, listen, I know me and Peter are close, but me and Peter aren't exactly like the same mentality.
No, what I'm saying is...
All right.
But you see something, this is what bothers me, actually. It bothers me a great deal, and this is the entire thing that's been bothering me the last couple of days, is that there is an escalation of expectance going on here. Yeah, see, Ryan, you know what I'm talking about.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I always say manage expectations. I don't expect anything from anyone.
But you know something? You can say that, but the actions speak differently. They do. I'm not saying you in particular again, Matthew, but there is this kind of.
Right. No, I get that.
No, let me just finish. There's this level of middle management, as I think of it, on Google Plus right now, and that middle management is demanding to become the boss. without knowing what being the boss is.
Well, like a class system, that you're saying.
Here's P. You might as well just say it. If we're going to talk about Peter, because he's the person making the
I'm
biggest
not actually talking, yeah.
he has posted before, not too long ago, that he has this, how much would you pay a Google Plus user with 35,000 followers? He's got his own consultancy agency, which he set up after he started gaining followers, and you can tell because on his page he's like, I have 12,000 followers, so you should use me as a consultant. And then he's saying, now that I have all this here and I'm creating awesome content that I've attached worth to myself because I've used my own version of metrics.
Well, he's selling himself, right?
Yeah, he's trying to, but now he's demanding that because he's not a good salesman for himself. He's got 38,000. He's got 38,000 people who follow him. Every day he gets up and every post he makes, he gets to reach out to those 38,000 people. And if he can't close that, that's his bad. And so now he's like, I need to be, now since I can't sell to these 38,000 people, I need to be somewhere where more people see me so I have a better chance of posting what I do already to maybe have more of a chance to get a sale. So instead of changing the way he posts and how he sells himself, what he's trying to do is change the system to conform to what he needs. That is not good.
Here's the thing. It's a cult of personality.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Google Plus is a cult of personality.
Yeah.
And that's what this is coming down to, is like a pissing contest between personalities. And my personality is better than that. Well, really? No.
Right.
It's not.
The funny thing is, though, is the amount of people that are involved in this contest is minuscule compared to the entire population of Google Plus. I would say there's probably about 100 to 200 people that are involved in this cadre of, movers and shakers, and we need to get ahead, we don't need to get ahead, we're happy with this, we're not happy with this. The rest of the Plus is doing its own thing and not even paying attention.
Or doing nothing.
Yeah, or doing
Most
nothing.
of Google Plus is doing nothing.
I even wrote on my post why this post matters to 0.0005% of my audience and why that's the point. That's the subtitle of my post.
It's funny, that number the people that are on this user list, that's the number of interaction they get from their followers, that percentage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've gone to people that have had 50, 30,000 followers, and they really don't get a lot of interaction at all. They get maybe...
Because building... Yeah.
But
I was going to say, building organic following is what it is. I mean,
I'm really happy with the interaction that I get.
Me too.
I'm quite happy, and this is the other thing, okay, and I kind of alluded to this somewhere yesterday. I can't remember whose post it was on.
There's all of this
discussion about do what you love, do what you love, do what you love, do what you love. Actually, it's really wrong. It's not doing what you love, and I can tell you, as someone with a great deal more experience than anyone else in the room here at the moment, it's about loving what you do.
Mm.
You learn from what you've got in front of you. You love what you do. You have a passion for learning, not a passion for loving. It's a very, very different thing. So if you're learning from what you're doing, that's the best thing to do. And, if I have one conversation with one person on one day that teaches me something, that's worth everything to me. It's not about, this sort of massive approval or numbers and number whoring, right? How many likes did I get? How many forwards did I get on this? How many comments did I get on this? Well, ultimately, that's one metric, but it's not the only metric. It's not the metric that will carry you through on a daily basis, because when those things disappear, you're going to reach the end of a rope.
You're going to become an alcoholic. He'll turn to the bottle and the pills.
Well, yeah, and so that was one of the things I wanted to say to Peter. I was like, and I don't know if he thinks this way, and I don't expect him to, because I can't expect everybody to conform to the way I think. But when I write, my lengthy post about what I think about social media, and I get 5 likes or whatever, or plus ones. When I first started this is why I was saying tough love from somebody who's been in your situation. I at one point was all about getting people to like, because I thought that was going to be cool, and I was like, that's what I should, expect or whatever. And that was way back. And then I finally was like, you know what? When I write these things and 5 people say that it's cool, great, that's totally cool, and I get to learn from my own posts. But my best post, and by best I mean when I get most shares and plus ones, my top post, which got over 1,000 plus ones and over 700 shares, was a little Valentine's Day card with some witty saying.
Yeah, that's what people. It's because it's like Armageddon versus it's a blockbuster movie versus an independent film. Like the blockbuster movies are the ones that people are going to see in drones that are like popcorn and probably not intelligent, and then the independent films get like the Oscars. All these films, the Oscars, hardly anyone has seen any of those. So it's a great analogy, I think.
And yet,
Somebody said something
there's
to me
a
the
come
other day,
from
'cause
behind.
I said to him, I made this post with 3 posters, and I've got, 500 likes and 3,500 different shares on this thing. And at the time, only Larry Page had a post, I think, that had more interaction on it than mine. And I've got close to 17,000 now, and I can't get anywhere. And people are like, well, it's because everything's watered down. People have other things to go and look at now, and it's more spread out. When we were in our little isolated beta shell, we looked at 100 people's different things, and then 1,000 or whatever, and then as time went on, it went 10,000, 100,000, and it's just a game trying to get these people to bite on something. I've got a following of maybe 30 to 50 people that post regularly or comment on my stuff, and then I don't know what the hell the other 16,950 people are doing on a regular basis.
Hey, Aaron, I personally think what you were doing with Ryan and what you're doing with my shit, the idea that you're creating content not for people specifically, and you can use that to post, and they'll reshare it. That's the way to go. And the more that you do that for people, the more attention you get. Sure, there's that danger that everyone's going to expect you to do it for free. So there's that middle ground that the pros and cons. But I know that it's definitely helped Byron. I know when he drew zombies, and it's just a lot of drawing, a lot of putting the time into it. And I threw him $15 for a calendar or whatever it was. But but so there's a give or take. So I think that keep putting up. I would keep putting up your art and create art, whether it's for yourself or other people. And the videos you put up are funny, and your personality. And
I've never seen
it.
I'll keep doing it. It's just, and I love it. I love to do it. It's making art. It's being creative.
Exactly.
He made one video about shit that people say in Google Plus, which is kind of funny.
That made the What's Hot list.
I have never seen it.
You haven't seen
don't
it
give
yet?
a fly
But so
about the hot list. I do not give.
and I don't think that
What a tedious
Really
metric.
weird thing.
everyone the What's Hot list. I occasionally find things on it. It is tedious metric, but I occasionally do. Today, I found a schemer thing on there, a new feature. Occasionally, I go in there, I find things that are useful. They're not but as far as getting on it, there's an algorithm to get on it, and then someone decide, and then there's a curator for it to be, but
A curator? Did you say there was a curator? Really?
not a big shock.
What are they going to do about the future of that person that they put on that What's Hot list?
I don't see her in here.
Stop talking to me about curators on.
And they got to reload.
Really.
Wow.
Anyway, you know what, guys? I stayed up way later than I should have, so I'm going to call it.
You're I'm pissed that you said someone was doing it. Fine, whatever.
What?
I should be reading some.
I was going to go to sleep. My husband actually has gone to bed, and he's not happy about me being up here talking up a storm. So I am going to go.
Before you leave, do you have I'd like to talk not for a position or anything, but just out of curiosity for love of learning and what you think as being having a philosophy of media. Is there papers and stuff that you have that I can read?
I'm not releasing them. I mean, I really, because at this point it's not ready, right?
Okay.
I'm writing my dissertation. I hope to defend this spring. I'm tightly focused on that. And if I do, believe me, you'll be sick of reading what I'm writing. So I appreciate the request. I do, but it's just not ready. It's really not ready. I would not be doing anybody any favors. So.
Well, if you can't do that, maybe private message me or something.
Yeah,
at least
we can hang out.
What you're reading at least.
Yeah.
See what somebody who's approaching it from.
Gilles Deleuze. I'm reading a lot of Deleuze. Yeah, a lot of stuff on the fold and the Baroque. I mean, read a little Nietzsche. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's funny because I was telling Matt.
Notion of the aesthetic, right? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Well, I was telling Matt before you got in here that when I read Russian philosophy, I'm constantly just second nature applying that to social media, especially
Yeah.
Russian stuff, because it's social. It's socialism, which is so dangerous to say
Especially when you pass around the
people
potato
don't understand what it actually means in our political environment. But
Yeah.
whatever.
I know.
But
I know.
a lot of that is social media friendly. Actually.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get into it. There's things I could say and it would be not very nice. So
Oh.
No, say it. Say it.
no, I'm married to an Eastern European. Let's say I have intimate knowledge of, that mindset.
Interesting. Does he speak Russian?
No, he speaks Ukrainian. Well, actually, yeah.
Close.
I probably speak more Ukrainian than he does. So on that note, I'm going to go.
Ukrainian can go to bed.
Yeah. I'll talk to you guys later.
Good night. Thanks for dropping by. See ya.
Ukraine, incidentally, for those of you who want to know, harbored the original capital of Rus, ancient Russia.
There it is. For the win. For the Jeopardy win.
Kiev. Kiev and Rus is what it was called.
Yeah, that sounds like something from Fiddler on the Roof, Anatevka.
Yeah, which is yeah.
I mean, look, everyone has their opinion. I feel like I've gone back and forth on what matters and what doesn't matter. But as far as how important numbers and all that is and are, and I don't think they are. Like I've said with McPerla thing, I don't think they're too important. I do think that there is a sense of ego stroking, and I think that's what it's like when they come to play when you're like, oh, all right, well, I mean, for me, I was always supporting people, and my world is you support people and you're your friend and they support you back, and I think that's where it hurts when you can't expect everyone to support you on everything they do, and everyone's busy. But I think it's when someone you've been supporting for a long time doesn't ever support you, then it can hurt. But besides that, I mean that aspect, I would
So
say.
Google, you mean?
Well, there's that too, but I wasn't specifically talking about Google. But now that you bring Google up, but I mean I was talking about just people that you interact with socially. But
yeah.
Yeah, I think that I don't necessarily think it's a sense of I think there is a sense of entitlement going on, but I think the idea of not necessarily taking the 100 people we talked about, but the idea of celebrating the people that are active on here in general, and just it wouldn't just help us; it would help Google to show people come to Google Plus that there are people using it in an active way, especially with all the articles being written that it's dead and people spent 3 minutes here. I think that's the valid argument, and that's the thing to talk about. That if Google wants, that's a
useful conversation. But when you come right out, man, I was just floored by that. When you say Google doesn't get social as an axiom that has existed for quite a while, and I know you didn't say. I'm not saying you. I mean, even
right. I just reshared. Literally, what happened was this is what happened. So we were talking about it on the after show with Chris, and Peter had written the first post, and Google doesn't get social was in there, and then we reshared it to start the conversation. But it's not so much that Google doesn't it's not they don't get it at all. It's not, that wasn't the argument. We're not saying that they haven't done a great thing here and all that. We're saying it shouldn't say Google doesn't get social. It should say Google doesn't, where they are now and where they could be, or where they could be faster, or the direction they plan on going, and maybe they are going to go this way. But I think the idea that there aren't a lot of people that work at Google, the basic idea was there aren't a lot of people that work at Google or on Google Plus that are inherently social. They're not. I think that was what we were arguing, right? Yeah. And that's different than saying whether they get it or not. I mean, Google Plus isn't awesome. Is it? All right. Can you answer this? Is Google Plus awesome because Google, if we, obviously you need users to make something good, but I mean, if it was it's content, right? I mean, we could have one feature or 1,000 features, and it would be about content, wouldn't it?
It's content is king. The ability, Aaron's shaking his head because maybe I know what you're going to say, maybe I'm totally wrong, but the ability to create that content in the framework of a social network is Google's job. They need to give us the ability to, and since they have the money and the power, they need to bring people here, which is what I think That's what I think they're trying to do with the suggested user list. But we, as users, we should be making content, but we also need, here's what I think the real conversation should be, and this is my opinion, whatever. The real conversation should be is how do we get Google Plus power users or influencers or people who are active on here and doing things that are helpful for the community, how do we get injected into the new people's view too? We shouldn't be replacing them, but with them. So
how they discover us is what you're saying.
Yeah, we need to be more easily discovered, but not for the sake, I mean, again, for the sake of money that will help a few people, but again, that's a very small minority of users. We need the social network to grow so it can be stable, so it'll be part of every you know, the purpose of Google right now, for Google Plus, is one, to integrate it with all their products, but also it needs to become a daily thing. People are on Facebook almost without automatically. I mean, it's compulsory. You get up, I get up, and the first thing I do is I grab my phone, I look at my Facebook, because those are my friends.
Switched. I mean, I still with Facebook, but Plus is my home.
I mean, I spend most of my time with Google Plus, but I definitely check my Facebook because that's how my friends are.
I do, yeah.
So what Google should be working on now is having those people. I mean, there has to be a compulsion.
Well, that's also what we're talking about. Not to cut you off, but that's what we were talking about. I said, what is the 1 or 2 or the 10 things that, and a lot of people said, who cares, da-da-da, we don't want Google Plus to get, we like how it is, we like the people here, we don't need more people, there's already plenty of people to interact with, and like Google handled that, and I'm like, that's fine, but just to have a conversation, and we were saying if we were working at Google, or we own Google, or we ran Google, that kind of conversation, what would be those things that would get them here, because again, I think that was, I think everyone, whether you know, you could say Google did social or not, but the idea was that to the mainstream world, people don't have a need for Google Plus because they have Facebook.
In my mind, okay, you've got Facebook, and the key feature for Facebook for me is I get to keep in touch with people that I've known 20, 30 years. You know, I've known these people, and I'm still finding people to this day that I, you know, graduated high school with and all this, and that's 20 years ago. So I look at it as, hey, I can keep in touch with all these people. They can find out what I'm doing. I can find out what they're doing. When I came over here, I didn't know why I needed to be here because I had like 30 people here. What was the difference? So somebody said to me, well, you can follow anybody you want. And now that I follow about 1,000-something people, when I look at it, I'm like, well, the content, you know, you're here for content, I guess. Even though you can fill the same niche that you can over on Facebook by keeping in touch with people, Google wants to add this layer of content on it. Now, I can get content over on Facebook. I got buddies that I talk to daily about movies and technology and all this other stuff. And so all these people over here are kind of poisoning the atmosphere by saying, you can only get content here. You can't get content over on Facebook. What you can get over here is content from strangers.
Discovery.
Yeah, I can say, oh, this person likes World of Warcraft, or this person likes to draw. This person likes music that I like. You know, whereas
you're also getting opinions that are not like colored and shaded by knowing you. They're based on
and you have unexpected discovery. I know everybody who's a Facebook friend. I know every single one of them. I have a whole bunch, but I know where they're from. I know exactly the context where I know them, and I know what they're going to say. You know, I understand what's going to come out of them, and I'm never surprised by the content that I see. You know, sometimes I get like a little, oh, that's funny picture that you found, but I also don't get articles about. I mean, really, I don't get articles that are generated, you know, by my friends that are about social media theory, which is what I like to read about. You know, so I have people here that I can discover, and it's unexpected discovery.
But Ryan, let me ask you this: before Google Plus existed, did you actually go out and look and find content about social media?
On blogs.
Yeah, exactly. You went to blogs. So instead of going out and bookmarking different things, you now have a stream that's broken up. You say you follow 5 social media people here that you couldn't find out there. Those 5 are here. You put them in a circle. You can go to them. That's the only benefit of being here instead of clicking on 5 different links. People were still searching for crap and looking for people on forums. There's billions of forums out there. There's billions of blogs out there. The stuff is out there. Google Plus just wants you to come here to try to find it. But you know what? they also want you to only pay attention to like 50 to 100 people. We're talking about these people who are creating content. I'm telling you that we probably can name off a list of 50 to 100 people that we know that create content that people are supposed to be listening to. I probably couldn't go beyond that. It's supposed to be. These are the people on the suggested user list.
Oh.
These are people that are supposed to be creating the content. What are the rest of us supposed to do? We're supposed to create content.
Interact with it, buy their shit.
Yeah, so what you're saying, and here's what I think you're saying, and what I think you're arriving at is some kind of marriage between what's expected and the reality of the network. So what Google needs to do, one, the suggested users, okay, first we have to define the fact that the people that I'm talking about, you, me, Matthew, Peter, Dennis LaBelle, Christina, we are not average users. We are not casual internet users. We are not casual Google Plus users. So when people come here, they're not looking for us. People are not going to come here because Ryan Crowe writes about social media or Google Plus on Google Plus. They're going to come here maybe because they saw Snoop Dogg is posting unique content here. Great. So, but what if Snoop Dogg or whoever is posting this content and they're not interacting with fans? They're not having,
And it's okay to some people.
It is.
Well, yeah. Well, so what they need to do then? We need to find a way to get these power names, right? Rallying flags that people can find and recognize and be familiar with. We need to get that. We need to use those people to get people's footstep in the door. And then we also need to be paired with those people. And by we, I mean Google Plus content creators and average users. I mean, we need to be paired with those people so that people can find something, not only interesting people to follow that they know about, from the celebrity sphere or whatever, but also people that they will be able to talk to and discover things through. So when Lewis Gray was saying, you guys are what's going to make our network successful, it's on you, he's right. We need to be here to keep people here. We need to be interesting, and we're different, right? Because if you go look for a blog, if you go look for my blog, you're not gonna. I don't have one. I have Sociology Plus, but that's about Google Plus.
Yeah.
There are people here who create content who are not bloggers, so you can't find them anywhere else, and they are unique to Google Plus.
Right.
So the marriage that needs to happen, and this is going to be through tweaking of the suggested user list, not the abolishment of the suggested user list.
Or a user list that's not, or a secondary user list.
A rotating user list.
I guess, but
rotating's hard too, because no matter how it's rotating, when people are introduced, they're going to see one user list. One person is not going to get a rotating because
that's why I said a secondary list, something secondary.
Sure. But what they need to figure out how to do, I think. Bobby Joe hates this.
She does.
Is we need to have both of these personality types, both of these user types, injected into a new user stream. Tell them that those people are there, and then allow them to opt out of that person or whatever, But there has to be some kind of cursory, and I've talked about this with a Googler before. There has to be some kind of cursory ask, what are you interested in? And
do you think this would be? This might be an invasion of privacy, and maybe people would have to opt in, or maybe it depends on what your settings are. But what if you can go to someone's profile, and while you're on the profile, click look at that person's stream view? And obviously you can't see things that are private, but then it would show me on their profile. Their profile would then turn into a stream, and I would see how they see their stream, and I would see content, only public stuff, or stuff that I would be able to see that they could see, and then I get an idea of what they're looking at. With that,
I think that would be cool. I think that's a cool feature.
Yeah.
For new users, maybe not, because one of the things that
maybe not. Yeah, it's too advanced.
Right. One of the things that Facebook has Facebook does not get social. They stumbled onto social.
Wait, you're saying Facebook doesn't get it? Okay.
They stumbled onto social accidentally, and they realized they stumbled onto it. But when they keep adding new things, now that's a big statement. People are going to be like, "You are an idiot."
But Google Plus keeps adding new things.
Well, here's the thing. I've actually said, chill. Facebook got to grow. It got to grow from a wall, a message, and photos, and a basic profile. People got used to it, and it existed for a couple of years, and then as people learned to use Facebook and it became a habit, then they got to add new stuff, and then they let that sit for a while, and that became a habit. People didn't have to learn as quick as they're learning Google+. Google+ changes a million things a month, which is totally great, and it means they're working on it. But one of the things that Google does not get to have that Facebook got, and it will never be able to have, and it has to work, well, I mean, it could, it has to work backwards, but they never get to have a growth of functionality. You know what I mean? People don't get to become used to just part of it, and then they get something new, because already they're getting hit with a full-fledged social network. As beautiful as the framework is, they never get to, it's never a habit. It never becomes a habit to do certain things. They don't get that option because there's so much to do when you first get to Google+. When Facebook first came around, it was, I don't even remember if there was a...
There wasn't a wall at first.
Yeah, there wasn't even a wall. You had very little things to do, but you got used to it. And then once it became like breathing, habit, right, habitual, then they added new stuff, and then that stuff became habitual. Google+ doesn't have that really. They have a lot of stuff here right now, and they'll keep adding stuff, which is cool, but the habits here are so hard to create, because what do you do? Also, like somebody had mentioned, there's no static. There's nothing static on Google+. It's dynamic, it's dynamic, it's dynamic. So you never get to sit and watch something grow from a small seed that you plant, like a friendship or something maybe, and you don't get to measure that, because it's always moving. It's always moving. That would be glorious for Google+, is having a static place where your information is kept.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have wanted a wall. And Ryan, you were talking earlier, and I got this thought in my head, and people are probably going to disagree with me on this, but Google+ is work. It's work. When you're on Facebook, you're in this environment where it's safe. You can check in. When you're here and you're like us, it's work. We have to create this content. And then other people have to come here and do work to A, find us, B, take the time to actually comment. If you look at the majority comments, they're like a few words or a little sentence, People just want to look at stuff and go. People are visual. And I keep saying this is why Pinterest is the bomb, because people look at shit. I'm sorry, I'm swearing on air.
No, you can fucking swear.
And they look at the stuff and they can go, I like that, I like that, I like that. When you come over here and all of a sudden people are doing their blogs here and all this, unless you're looking for that, you're going to have to take time. You're going to have to work to read all this and read. Well,
it's kind of right. It's like the society, TV, watching TV or reading a book, right?
Yeah.
That idea. Like, that's what I was saying about mainstream movies versus indie movies. There were...
Well, that too, Matt, but people have a lot of things to do off of this box. When they come here for those 3 minutes a day, they're probably looking at their 5 or 10 people in their stream and then moving on. Right. We're here, and you're here to
But they're not even doing that. I think people are coming to Google+. If they're here, they might click their notification thing and see who added them. That's it. They're not looking at their stream. I don't think so.
That's true, yeah, for 3
They're probably just looking at notifications, or they're updating maybe they're adding a picture.
Yeah. It's work. It's a lot of freaking work.
But it's funny you say that, because Elaine said she's sick of people saying it's work and treating it like it's work. So it's kind of like guys are...
If you look at it, people are like, I want to make my living over here. I want to do this. I want to do that. It's work. You might love it, but it's still work. You still have to work.
That's right.
I think you might not necessarily make money from... there's a way to make I'm working on ideas for collectives and things like that, but that, again, there's no guarantee with that stuff. But there is a way, and that's what we're doing, is building ourselves and our brand, and with Google Plus research and everything else, being more found out. And I went into a hangout, a public hangout, Amanda was in there. I didn't know anybody else, and they all seemed to know me, and I was like, and that's weird, and it's cool, but it wasn't like those things, I didn't do that because I was like saying, love me, I need to. But when those things happen, it's cool, and I that's why I was happy to grab onto the show and do a show, and because after a couple months of hanging out, I was like, it's a rerun. I want to do something, and I want to be proactive.
Yeah.
So.
My girlfriend said this a couple times when we've talked to other people about going to New York. and she said this to me too. She said, Aaron, I was totally blown away by the fact you showed up for this concert and you walk in and all these people are coming up to you like they've known you for years and you're like their best friend and they're shaking your hand and they know you. These are just random people from the internet.
It kind of freaked me out a little bit.
It's weird to meet these 80 people that, and people are like treating me like, oh yeah, I saw your posters, or yeah, you posted on this, that, this and that, and you brought this point up. And she was like, you're like a freaking celebrity. I said, well, it kind of just fell in my lap,
I am so jealous, by the way, that you guys are near hubs of people. I'm in the middle of the country and surrounded by farms. I mean, it's Columbia, Missouri.
Come out east.
I want to. I'm coming. I think I'm going to come down to New York on spring break to check out the Google Creative Labs over there. Because I want to. I've never been in New York before, which is. I know people. Whenever I say that, I get these like sad, like, oh no.
No, it's all right. Yeah.
So, but we don't have people to hang out with. I mean, I'm near Sarah Hill. But
did you wait? Sarah Hill had a little I saw pictures of it.
I know. I didn't get to go to it. I'm in grad school. I just don't get to.
How far away is it? Is she?
Oh, Sarah. Sarah and I are probably within the same quarter mile of each other every day. Columbia's not a big town, and she's a professor in my school.
Wait, she's a professor as well as a news broadcaster?
So I understand. She does broadcast journalism, and Mizzou has the oldest / arguably best journalism school in the country.
Wow.
And she's here. So I've actually talked to Sarah on the phone before Google Plus even happened, and because I worked for a social media company here, and we had stuff to do, with the news and whatever. We've never actually met though, which is surprising because I don't know. I feel like it would benefit us to meet each other. Maybe not her at all, actually, because she's got almost 1 million people.
Yeah.
But, as two people who are active on Google Plus in the same town, it's kind of, this town is kind of surprising. But I'm so jealous that you guys in California and you guys in New York, I wish you guys go on those, I've seen photo walks, I see hangouts where there's tons of people, and I know people there, and I'm like, man, I would kill to be there.
Yeah.
Because for me, Google Plus, everybody that I meet is still a digital person of somebody who's real, even this is the closest we're ever going to get with modern technology that exists for consumer use right now. This is the closest I will ever get to meeting you guys without actually meeting you in person.
Yep.
I guess it's funny to me because I even though I never met, it's like after you hurl so much when you're in here, it just feels like we've already, even if I haven't met you, it feels almost like we've already met, if that makes sense. So.
But this is weird, too, because, you meet all these people on here, and it's taken to that next level. Like, back in the day when I was on a bunch of forums, you talk to people through AOL chat, ICQ, and all that. It was text. Then maybe you got knew them enough where you could call them on the phone. Now you've got all this video. And you said it's this next level, but this is as far as it'll go. When you actually do meet people like I did, it blows your mind. But then they're all going to go back. They're all going to go back. I'm not going to be able to go hang out with Matt tomorrow and, catch a movie or something.
No, but you could hang out with probably Bruce if you want, or Paul, or I don't know how far away they are. But
person, I could make 1 or 2 friendships, but this is like I met 90 people, and maybe I could hang out with 1 or 2. Because we all scatter back to where we were. And in a way that kind of depresses me, because I met all you guys, and you guys are real people, and I saw how you act in real life. Some people different than they do here, and some not.
Did you find that there were a lot of people that were different?
You know what, and I'll have to be honest here, I found the majority of people very, very honest, and really forthcoming, and they were really nice. I expected to go down there and be like, oh, what if we go there and there's 10 people that are complete jerks? But that didn't happen. Everybody was.
Well, the people that were jerks, they kept that under wraps. Well, at least in front of you.
Yeah.
You were there for you were there, but
Yeah, I didn't go to the HQ and all that stuff. But when we were doing the photo walk, everything went off without a hitch. My girlfriend and I were like, well, if there's drama, we're going to get in the car and just go. We don't want to deal with nothing like that happened. maybe because
Yeah,
everyone's
no,
on their best
it
behavior.
was a good time.
It's funny that you mentioned forums. I mean, I've been a part of this one forum that I'm thinking of since 1998. I was a kid. I mean, I was what, 12 years old when I joined that forum. With guys too, like men. You know,
Yeah.
it's this very manly forum where people talk about beef and stuff. You know.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
But I've known these people, and they've watched me grow up. I mean, I've shared experiences with them. But in my mind, I don't know their names. Like, one of them is named, you know, J Cash 89, you know, and that's what he is to me. And that, obviously, it's not him.
Right.
The closest I ever got to meeting them before the advent of video was pictures that we would post in, hey, you know, post pictures of your real life here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I got to see. And that one snapshot was a visual representation of that person whose name I, you know, even if they told me their real name, I would still call them J Cash 89. You know?
Yeah.
And I played video games, online video games forever.
That's what he used to.
So I called, I mean, the closest we got, because when I played like squad-based games, so you needed teamwork and strategy, we had to type everything out for a while, but then finally, you know, microphones became big, and I got to hear their voices. Incredible. I had a squad, this is going to sound so geeky, but I had this war game that I played called Infantry, and I had the squad leader, and I had mad respect for him because he was just absolutely, you know, genius with what he did. This kid, he turned out to be a 12-year-old kid. And I had no idea. And when I heard his voice, it was this prepubescent voice, and he was yelling at me to, you know, to take the flank, and I'm just like, wow. You know?
Yeah.
Incredible. And now, if I saw him, man, that would be...
It goes to show you our perception versus reality. I mean, that's the biggest lesson. You know?
I gotta get to bed, guys. It's 2:15 here, and I gotta wake up for work.
Me too. Well,
me too, yeah.
too. I need one of those.
Oh, this
I'm
is
working
good.
on it.
Let's do this
You
again.
need a job?
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do. I put it out there, like someone make me an offer, but they're offering me food. So
What do you do for a living right now?
I don't. I had a job and they dissolved it.
Oh, sad.
Wow.
What do you want to do?
Ideally, I would like to have my own production company, and I do make my own hangout shows, and I want to make I made a movie. I put it out there. I want to make more movies, and I would love to, you know, if that on top of that, work for social, maybe work for Google, maybe work for another company, do social and that. But I don't want to be the guy that's trying to come up with their social strategy. I would love to work for like a social network where it wasn't just about the social strategy, and more about features and platforms and how to change things, like we're doing here, like that I've done, and I did like at this other company where I was kind of doing that, and then they kind of threw me over to social because I was doing both.
So you want to be more involved with the media side as opposed to P E Sharpe's social side, or both?
I want to be involved with the user experience, with like the way it's designed, what's you know, that's more interesting than drumming up people's like Twitter and Facebook and Plus. I mean, and like maybe it sounds egotistical, but I feel like, I mean, I'm at a level, and a lot of us, maybe not, where I could take any company if I was given free reign, and at least on Google Plus, I can make them popular. Probably on Twitter and Facebook too, but you know, it would take a little bit longer. But how, you know, the only way to do it is for them to give me the job. But do I want to do that? I don't know.
Well, here's the problem, again, from somebody who has made their own path into the world of social media. You this is why it was funny about Peter, too. This is what P was getting at, I think, and I'm not going to speak for him. This is what I thought. He already has a consulting company for social because he did well on Google, but I don't think he's aware of that he's going to have to, and this is not just Peter, this is anybody who's trying to get into social. Because you do well on a platform, you get to do whatever you want, and you answer to yourself, and you have...
Right.
You don't get that with companies. I mean,
no,
I brought this killer, this absolute, I made plans and I architect for a whole community and a unique experience for this one of my clients, and they're like, oh yeah, this is totally great, you know, great innovation and stuff, but here's what we actually need. We need you to post our blog content on our, and it was just like, I almost lost it, you know, but you just have to understand that you're going to have to do shit that you don't like for a while in order to get anywhere. I still do. I mean, actually now I'm getting to a place where I get to do kind of my own thing. But, I mean, for the last year and a half of getting paid to do it, I've been paid to do stuff that I would never suggest to a company, you know. which is what he was talking about, the ethical part, where it was
Right.
getting
So
hard.
did you actually say to them, like you need, like, did you ever speak up and say, I don't think this is gonna help you?
Oh yeah. Well, it's hard to do that because I don't. When I say something
You
like
don't lose
that,
your job.
exactly, because then the company's gonna be like, well, what do you do? Like the company that hired me, because again, I was a consultant, so they could just not bring me on,
Right.
When I say, here's what you're doing, here's why this is bad, so you have to take, what you have to do is learn how to make the most out of whatever limitations you're given. But you're going to have to, for a while, you're going to have to make Twitter posts. What you do on your free time and researching and learning and writing and posting it, make sure to post it. Do not keep these ideas in your head. You need to put it out there. Get a blog, start posting about it on Google, but people need to be able to see it and find it, because whatever genius ideas you have in here while you're working on, copy pasta, right? They don't mean shit if they're going to be stuck in your head. You need to get them out there. And people, it's okay if they're not complete ideas. It's okay if you develop your philosophy about things in public. People like that. People are like, oh, this is his train of thought. This is where he's grown.
Yeah.
Everything that I've ever written, I try to keep online. My first interview that was ever a part of a blog, is online, 2010 on this NetSquared blog, and you can just see that what I thought then is just not what I think now, which is no fault. Well, anyways, let's stop talking about me. But here's what you need to do. You need to suck it up. You need to do a small social media job at a little place. You start to build understanding of how social is going to fit in with the corporate environment. Once you start proving that you're worth, what they're paying you and that you have ideas, then you can introduce those ideas and you can change from the inside. But if you go at a company, and again, this is not the gospel here. This is my experience. If you go to a company and you're like, boom, I'm a new guy, you're doing it wrong, here's how you do it, some companies will embrace that and they'll try it, because experimentation,
Oh yeah.
people who...
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. I totally know the corporate environment, but in that sense, and that they are rigid and they want to do their own thing, and then they have an idea of how things are supposed to work and all that jazz. And the worst is, like I was saying in PE, is that like there are companies out there that are like startups and new, and they wanna hype and overhype stuff, and their actually website and their actual stuff they're putting out there is kind of crappy. And so
Yes.
you're bringing a lot of traffic to a lot of crap, and you're selling crap to people, and you're like, we're spending all this money and time to get people to your website, and then they're never going to come back because there's nothing there for them to do.
Oh,
Like,
perfect. I had that exact experience with my first multi-million-dollar client. He started a business, and the business hadn't really done anything yet. It was still being built. But before the business had even gotten off the ground, before it had customers, before it had done any kind of major sale, he wanted bloggers making content. He wanted people pushing social. He wanted to create a mascot for his company that would be witty and snarky. And so I create this. So I'm hired to do that. So I do. And people are going, hey, this is funny, but who the hell are you? I can't find any customer reviews. When I go to your website, it's still not working efficiently.
Right.
I don't know what to expect from you. It's like having a billboard. Say you're driving down the road, and you have a billboard
I
that's...
gotta go, guys.
Good night, Aaron. Yeah.
Thanks for the.
Great as a billboard, thanks.
Yes.
So you have a billboard that says Bob's Burgers. Bob's Burgers are the
And it's
best
back to
burgers
us.
in the world, and they are bar none, the best thing you're ever going to eat. And so you see that, and you're like, that's a big claim. So what are you going to do? You don't just take their word for it. You're like, oh yeah, clearly that billboard said it, so I'm going to need to believe it. You go onto their social media, or you ask your friends, and this is very fundamental understanding of how social works, right? You go and ask your friends, hey, have you ever eaten Bob's Burgers? No, I've never heard of it. You ever eaten Bob's Burgers? No, I've never heard of it. You start going online, and you see Bob's Burgers has a Facebook page, and they've got some guy on there who's posting. They're like, oh, hey, we're the best. It's totally rad that we're the best. Hey, do you think we're the best? And people are going to be like, well, I don't know, but we're not going to take your word for it. And if they go and look at Yelp, or they go look at Foursquare or Urban Spoon, any place, and they can't find anything about it, you're outed, and they're not going to come back.
Right. And you just wasted a lot of time and a lot of money.
And again, who gets blamed for the fail of social? The social person.
But you shouldn't get blamed for that, because, well, that's the other thing. You could show them, look, I brought all these people to your page. It's not my fault that you couldn't close a sale. I'm not closing sales. Social media person is not the person that's supposed to close sales, right? That's the other thing. So, like, do they expect the social media person to
Sometimes.
close sales?
They expect,
Well,
I mean, I think
and they don't pay us
people
enough.
expect different things, but lead generation, having somebody who's clever and witty enough to create hooks and bring people into, increase top-of-mind awareness of a brand that will
Right.
bring people to their page, that's something that a social media person is expected to do some places. But social media does not stand on its own, I think, right now, not yet, does not stand on its own as the only way you can bring. You need other media sometimes. It depends on what you do, I guess. Now,
Well, YouTube, you wouldn't consider YouTube as part of social media?
oh no, YouTube is for sure part of social.
Yeah. So,
I have blogs, Yelp, Amazon reviews,
all of it, yeah.
social media, forums, blogs, email, email.
But it
different.
doesn't, see, you could do all that, and, I mean, I think there's a point where, like, now you have Twitter, Facebook, and Plus, where you can do all that other stuff, but I feel like it's silly. I mean, I feel like it is kind of silly because you have your website, you have Facebook, Twitter, and Plus, and focus there. I mean, like, why? How many places do people need to find you? You know?
Well, interesting. That's an interesting. There's a school of thought that says in
Everywhere.
social media right now that you should focus on one or two platforms, and you should be able to be found on those other platforms by basic profiles, maybe not really exist there, but so you appear more in search, right? Because that's another important thing. But focusing on
That's all fucked up.
excelling at one or two platforms is for some people the best idea. And you need to excel on the platforms that are going to benefit your business. So if you are a clothing store, you probably want to be on Pinterest. You know, if you got indie clothes, because
Well, now with Pinterest, yeah, I would throw Pinterest in the mix too, yeah.
before that, Tumblr and Etsy, which is somewhat social in there.
I guess.
You can share.
The thing, yeah, although they were saying Pinterest, there's a thing with affiliate links with Pinterest that they were taking. I don't know what the deal was with that.
Well, that'll play out, and but businesses are gonna not really give a shit because Pinterest is driving a lot of traffic to their sites, apparently, right? Did you read that stat that Pinterest was driving more traffic to sites than Reddit, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Google Plus combined?
No. Well, maybe. I know. See, someone was saying that they were pretty hot. That
Yeah,
Pinterest-
well, look up what I just said. Just type that phrase into Google, and somebody did a
Pinterest.
Pinterest driving inbound traffic, and they mentioned that it was driving more inbound traffic to some pages, to some brands more than those 4 social networks. That's a big deal. It's brand new.
Social media game changer, is that it?
I mean, it could be people will tell the same story with different headlines, so that might be.
Yeah.
But Pinterest, that's interesting. I don't know. Who would have thought? I mean, it logically makes sense. People are looking for a visceral experience sometimes when they go online. And those visceral experiences, actually Peter McDermott does this fairly well. Whenever he posts something, he has a method of posting that is a structure that he has pulled from different blogs, and you can always say, oh yeah, that makes sense, I've read that before. But everything that Peter posts has little small chunks of texts, bolded stuff, and there's always bar none a picture. Always a picture involved. Do you know why? Because when Peter or anybody does it, that's a visceral experience. And it takes up more screen real estate. So when people are scrolling past stuff, I don't put pictures on all my blog posts or Google Plus posts. I don't. But when people are scrolling past it, they see whatever text.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah. So I mean that's. But what helps people read Peter, what Peter does to help get his stuff read, is he always has pictures. And what's funny is that people will start to associate conversations with pictures. Like whenever I think of this whole thing, it's funny how I think about this, and I can't be the only one. But whenever I think about the entire suggested user list read debate that we're having now, when I think about that and when I look for it in my stream, I look for that certified organic picture that he has, that green button, on the original post.
What do you mean a green button?
Well, if you go to Peter's original post, it has his picture.
Oh, that one, yeah, 100%, yeah.
It's everywhere, and so that helps people. That, in my mind, is actually a visual reaffirmation of that post. Oh, there's that. That's what
That's
this
how you
post
remember it. Yeah, totally.
That's really smart. That's something that's good. And again, I have nothing. I have a problem with how Peter markets himself, just out of from working in social media. I think that whatever. That's
well. So you have a pretty strong opinion about Peter's, but not a pretty strong opinion about what I'm doing. Just about that's why it's.
What are you doing?
Well, no, I mean it's funny because Peter had come on here a couple months after, and we became friends, and I was helping him out and this and that, and we'd all do different posts and have different conversations, and like everything you said, I occasionally I put out. I mean, I'll put out any kind of post, to be honest with you, and like as far as how much interaction I get, I don't. I don't necessarily have expectations. Occasionally, I'll put out a post that I want. If I really want more interaction, I'll put out a post. I'll put out a post more for interaction. Like last night, I literally put out a mac and cheese and bacon picture because something annoyed me, and I was like, you know what, I can do this too, and I put it out and got the instant people interacting with it. But it's true. It's like it depends. It's about the post, but it's really more about the person. And Peter, as well as me, and a lot of people we've built this. You won't go to Peter's post and find too many. Now you'll find some new people, but like if you track them back, it's a lot of people are the same people are talking on the post. Like we're the same group of people that we talked about, and with all of us. So anyway,
my problem, if you're doing this, I don't know about it, but he's got this. Again, from working as a professional in social media, who's doing it as a career, and this is, I feel like it dilutes, it puts a bad image on me in everybody who works in our field. He's got this consulting page up, and it's based on the fact that he got 12,000 people on Google+, and now all of a sudden he's ready to give social media advice to companies. And then 4 days ago, he wrote that he's just learning how to tweet. It blows my mind that, but there's also the aspect of that takes some balls, and I did it too, so it's hard to, I sent...
And see, I have experience with all that stuff with tweeting and following Facebook and all that, but I just don't want to be a social media guru. That's like, to me, like I sat there on Craigslist, or whatever you want to call it, social media person. It's a thankless job, and you're not getting paid. I don't know. Elaine even said she gets $200. She got $200 an hour, but she got it not necessarily for doing this. She did it because she was like the top manager of managing things, and I don't even know if it sounded like it wasn't even really social media. It was something related to media, but not. Yeah. So I didn't get the full clear picture on that.
Yeah, she was in a position that required underlings and stuff. So that's. Right. I mean, I would get paid more if I had people under me too, right?
Right. She had responsibility. Yeah.
Now, she's got an amazing CV, and, the fact that she has taught and that stuff lends credibility there. She deserves to be paid more than I do right now because she's worked in the structure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, even without looking at her resume, I could tell,
Do you think, so that's an interesting thing, so that's what I'm saying, so do you think people should be paid based on their experience or based on results, or is it, or experience it first and then based on results, or?
No, that's interesting. Social media by itself is not an island. Things that affect social media and the way that people handle social media and the way that people are going to handle social media, react to it and engage, okay? The way that people are going to do that, none of that will be original to social media when it comes down to the fundamental concept of how people are talking to each other. So when she says, I like the philosophy of social media, I want to know why people use it, blah, 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 there's anthropological, sociological aspects of
it. Behavior, yeah.
Behavioral issues, right? And then, people who understand the tech side of it are going to be like, well, I'm going to design this user interface that's going to create the least amount of friction between sign up and getting started, so people are going to learn how to, this is what you guys were talking about earlier, kind of, creating that least amount of friction. If somebody can get signed up and starting, posting, and reading people's stuff with the least...
And that's the stuff I was working on. I was working on that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. So you definitely deserve, with that knowledge that you have, and even knowing that that problem exists, that's something that you need to take into account and you need to be paid for. There's certain things that there's certain things that I just don't get yet because I've never been in a large corporate environment that I'm, I don't mind being paid $40 an hour when I'm all, for this first year or whatever they're going to pay me. I don't know what it is.
Right.
I do know what it is, but not enough to call it an hourly thing. Because I'm going to be learning stuff that you need experience in. And I know that I am not, for example, I need to be part of a team. That's what I'm saying at first, I need to be,
what is it that you don't... So I think it's a matter of no one really knows how much anyone else knows. I think we could assume, but I don't assume. What people's experiences are and what they know or don't know, what they've grasped. And so what I thought, like you said, like it shocked you that Peter didn't know Twitter or whatever it might be, or that it shocked, obviously you didn't have LinkedIn, but I've been doing this since, 2007 maybe? 6, 7, yeah.
Well, let me give you an example. So I go with my new company where I'm going to be the head of the department. So I answer to the person who's in charge of online media or whatever, but I'm going to start working there, and not too long after I start working there, I'm going to have people who work under me. But there's times where I've gone to client meetings, and they use business jargon that I think is probably fairly common, and I have no idea what they're talking about.
So can you give me an example of something I said? You had no idea what you're talking about?
Oh.
Just anything? No? Nothing?
I'm thinking. Because now I know what it is. So.
They were talking about what? About quarters?
No. It's hard now because I've been with him long. It was in October when I started working with him. So.
Well, they must have only one thing they said that confused you, or there were like a lot of things you didn't know.
I'm trying to. Okay, so when they talk about like basic. For how workflow works within the office, and again, it could be unique to their company culture, and I don't know this. Yeah, but when they say, well, we need to go, these AEs need this from you, a report that has listed out, deliverables and action items, and we need to give them, this timeline of budgetary, concerns, stuff that I just don't know how to do on my own. I had to ask people because I have to create that. As the head of social media marketing, I had to ask people what the hell they meant, and they don't care. They know that I'm learning. So, but if that's what I've learned now. I can do it now. But when I first went in there, I'm like, and I know how to use I can use Excel and stuff. But when they're like, hey, can you go in Excel and make a timeline that has key milestones, events, and budgetary costs within those? I'm like, I don't know what you need that to look like.
Right. But the other thing, too, is, like, it's hard to predict it's hard to predict, like, when it comes to budget. But that's not something, but when it comes to budget, a lot of it is guessing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's another thing that they get from me, because one of the things I also noticed, even with my old boutique job where I was the first, account manager, and I had to kind of set the, this is how we're going to do this. This is going to make the most sense for social media strategists in the future. A lot of people, from my experience, don't know how to talk about social yet. Like when I'm in, when I'm in a meeting, sometimes they just kind of look at me and they're able to talk about what other people do, at least have a cursory understanding of what happens. But sometimes they just go, "Okay, talk about social," and I have to sit there and tell them what I'm doing, and they nod and they're learning about social from me. So that's what I get to teach them, and it's interesting because sometimes
you ever come across somebody that knows both? Like
my boss does, but when I have to explain it to the owner of the company, there's certain concepts that she gets, and she's learning on her own, and she's really smart, a great businesswoman. But there's sometimes, where I'm going to say something and she'll say, I don't know what that is, so I'll have to explain it to her. And then sometimes when I talk to clients, I have fairly big corporations as clients, cable companies. And when I go and talk to their director of new marketing or whatever, and I have to explain the purpose of having somebody sit down and be monitoring social all day, it's complete lack of comprehension of what it takes to be social. So it's funny because because they want. I'm sorry, no, because they want to get away with doing the bare minimum. Oh yeah, exactly. And so when they pay you to do the bare minimum, it's really hard for me as somebody who is not only interested in making money or whatever, but I like social theory. I want to do something that's going to be successful, and I know that one, they have enough money that if they're not involved with social, that it's not going to be a huge deal. All they really need to do is say, hey, this is going to be on TV tonight on this channel. Great, enjoy it.
And they send emails now too. So they don't even need to, like, people get emails like what's on TV, like what's on HBO, what's on.
And what their social platforms exist right now, they're getting teed off on, because people get pissed off most about fucking internet cable. Their TV goes out, internet goes out, they just complain and complain and complain. So right now, their social media exists for people to come and air their grievances in public. And I'm like, you can't just let that happen. And you have to start conversations and do things, be interactive, and try to get to know your consumers. You can't just sit
They
there.
don't want to. They want to see people. They just want to see numbers. They don't want to see the people behind the numbers.
It's an extension of customer service for a lot of companies right now.
But that's why it's like, if they had to do more than the bare minimum, then they would have to pay more, and then they don't want to pay more, and so that's part of it, and that's what it is. And so, like, I had a company where they said, oh, we just want you to post a couple of cool stuff, a couple of cool things about our company, like you spread a couple of cool things on Twitter. I'm like, all right, it's like I should just make it up out of the top of my head. What's cool about you?
Yes, yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, so there's the creativeness and, like,
Well, it's funny too, because some companies don't realize, they think that social just happens on its own. You know what I mean? Like, one of the companies I was working for was a printing company, and what is cool about? There's stuff that you can make cool about printing, and whatever. But they're like, okay, well, you're our consultant. Go ahead and do social now. We're gonna hire you to be a content creator too. You're gonna pretty much be our social presence. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to say about printing. About mass. So they had content.
Pretty colors.
Yeah, there's so little I could say about it, and it's going to be that kind of company is a business-to-business company for the most part, because they sell massive printing quantities. Really interesting. There's some companies will not benefit from having a small social agency. They need somebody in house. That's what they needed. Not even yet for them, but it's just hard. It's difficult because, one, not only are we learning as social media professionals, we are learning and creating trends and patterns and pioneering something, but we're also expected to be gurus and experts already, things that we cannot claim to be.
Well, social media is always changing too, so.
Always. So how people have best practices, right? Post your tweets at blah, blah, blah a day. Okay,
I don't buy into all that.
Yeah, so those are good tactics, right? That's good tactics. But best practices for social media, and I'm going to write a blog post about this just because it needs to be done. Best practices for social media is learning about concepts and learning how concepts develop and being a part of the development of concepts. And those concepts are, approximation of human interaction in a digital space, right? So that's, being the most lifelike avatar that you can be. It's the marriage of being human and the marriage of technical. It's knowing that you're going to constantly learn and you're never going to have a handle on the whole thing. You never will know everything about social media. It just won't happen. It's going to be constantly evolving. People can say the same about business, but business is sometimes more static than social. And then there's an intrinsic quality of being personable that cannot be taught. It just can't be. So concepts, and being able to keep up with concepts, understanding concepts, and knowing how to interact and put yourself and get your company into those concepts and interweaving those things, those are best practices. And it's hard to call that a practice because what you're really saying is practice learning, practice being patient, You're never practice knowing that you were never going to know. Clutch. But there are certain things that you.
Uh-oh, I see crash. No, good.
What?
No, I thought I was gonna crash.
Well, I'm gonna have to go here in a second.
I am too. Yeah, I'm crashing. But
yeah, I saw you.
yeah, you're like. I don't know.
Well, I've got this.
Which video?
This bad boy to keep me awake.
Nice. That was not a brand. You fuck. Yeah.
What? Oh, it's backwards.
Let's go on big screen now.
I'm drinking Tiid NTM.
Yeah, whatever. No, I don't even know.
Well, is this a brand?
Maybe I'll put it up. I mean, just 'cause, yeah, but you're allowed to kind of have that. It's just a matter of, like, songs and not, you know.
Oh, I've been drinking the entire time.
All right, I won't put this up. I'll delete this. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's...
I won't make 3 pennies on this video.
Is that really against it?
I have no idea. I don't know.
If I'm
Yes
drinking
and
that...
No, you're allowed to do what you want. Yeah. I mean, when you hold it up, but whatever. I mean, I pulled spring and I'm drinking. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, you don't have to see that it says Poland Spring to know that it's a Poland Spring bottle. I mean, recognizable, but
you know. So, and also, there's like, I don't want on record because I like Peter McDermott. I do. I don't want it to seem like I'm lambasting him, but the way I think he handled that really wrong, and then he tried to play it off like he's just starting a conversation, which he is starting a conversation.
But I was about to say the same thing. It is. That's what it is. It's the people don't know the whole involvement, how it evolved, and it was on we were doing the show and da-da-da. And I think it's like as rapid as Google Plus is growing, it's not growing rapidly enough for like. I mean, like when it's like, all right, we're gonna have incoming, and then we're gonna get rid of incoming, and then we're gonna have this, and we're gonna get rid of that, or move this and move this around. It's like somebody is moving all these pieces around, and there is a guy that's saying, you know what, guys, we want to do all these features, but maybe we need to like do it differently so people are not freaking out, or you know, I even said to Lewis and Ellie, I said something that. There are some people that a lot of people don't use Google Plus all the time, so they're going to go away and come back and see like all this new stuff, and then it's weird. But
that's just like I was saying earlier about the natural growth of a platform. The thing is, again, Facebook had all those features introduced, and it doesn't even seem like you're doing a lot on Facebook because you're so used to it.
Well, no, I would say with this last change, they really screwed up, and they really threw everybody. Not just timeline, but the way your wall looks with the ticker and everything was when that came out. People were like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot at once. People aren't used to seeing that much change. No. But now Google Plus, I mean, even though it is so, I mean, I think it's intuitive the way that it's built. I think it's really easy to use. I think they did a great job. But still, for the casual user, I'm used to social media. The casual user.
Really I mean, and that's the argument that I had against Prillo said the same thing about it being easy to use, and I think Google Plus is easy to use for people that are willing to go and explore. But if you want to sign up, look for your friends, and then start, I don't know, posting or interacting, and your friends aren't there, and there's nothing there, and you're like, well, then I'm gone. So there's not, it's all in the sign-up process, and it's funny because I think I started a new Gmail account, and it's cool to do that once in a while because then you see, I saw there's a brand new sign-up with Gmail. So now you see, like, Google's all integrated. Like, you're not just signing up for Gmail, you're signing up for YouTube, and and it's all together, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
And I did a Google Plus sign-up recently for an account, and I saw, like, oh, you didn't add anybody. There's, like, 10 circles, like, for people to add on your stream. And it's like, you're alone. Don't you want to add somebody or da-da-da? Have a better experience. But they're not saying who. But the sign-up process is a big deal. I mean, that's really where you have their attention, and you need to be able to really not make the sign-up process painful, but you need to get them to do key things in the sign-up process, because if they don't do it in the sign-up process, they might never do it at all. But at least if they're like, I'm determined to sign up for Google Plus, there's a chance they might take the time to do it when they sign up. And so,
have you read my series, my How to Get More People in Google Plus series of articles?
I think I saw a few.
There's 3 of them. The second one is about. So I think it's easy, but I know it's not for the casual user. I'll even. Shit, I'll fucking read it.
But it isn't easy. You know why it's not easy? Because it's like there's nothing to tell anybody who to circle, and you can use search, but just because you use search doesn't mean you're gonna be like, all right, I search for photography. I see circles of photography. All right, this is the mindset. All right, let's say I search for photography. There's a shared circle. There's a person. There's a person. How do I? Okay, that looks good. And then I go to the profile. That looks good. That doesn't look good. But like, and then I'm like, and then if I'm paranoid, I'm like, well, what? I don't really know these people. Do I trust them? Do I really want them to be my search results if I circle them? Not that they're thinking that, because they probably don't even know that. But introverts, extroverts. David talks about that a lot. Yeah, I know you keep bringing up the slow growth thing. But it really was like, it wasn't as slow as you think it was. I mean,
wasn't it? I mean, think about how long it took. If you go look at the Facebook timeline, from 2005 to 2007, we basically had no change in features. 2 years for people to get used to that.
But I would have to say, in all honesty, I feel like Facebook didn't really start till close. All the college stuff is great, and I'm glad that it was there. But Facebook itself really didn't start until like more like 2006, 2007. Like it was in existence, but until it was available publicly to everyone, it was everything before it was like did not. It's my belief that, I mean, I don't know what the growth was, but the 2 years before it was available publicly, or whatever, or the 1 year or whatever it was, or 3 years, there was like, what was the user base? Did they?
I'll tell you. It was.
Well, they cracked million? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you. So what happened was they started releasing it. Here's how the growth of Facebook happened. It was Ivy League, grew out to more campuses, large states.
No, yeah, I know all that stuff. I know the history.
So here's the importance of that. Is it had very minor, very few features. Very, minimal, very few features. But those college students who knew how to use it talked about it. And since that's the trend. They talked about it, and they spread out to their parents, and they spread out to their parents. And what they said and how they used it and how they talked about it became everyday vernacular. It was easy to talk about, Facebook me, Facebook me. It only meant one thing: find me on Facebook, look at my profile, and we can connect there. And then so that was on college for a while, and I think around the end, I'm trying to figure, because I got it when it was still in college form. In the middle of 2006 is when they released it to high schoolers, I believe. And then by that time, not just high schoolers, but anybody with an email address, really. Then they released a couple of more things, but these people were learning from people who had already been using it. So we had, the learning curve was so small. And then they finally started introducing things that are more advanced a little later in 2006. And then finally in 2007 is when they started getting, that's the Facebook that you know now, I mean, basically. I mean, before the big changes.
Yeah, but during that whole time you were busy using Facebook, I was busy using MySpace. So the same way I use Facebook.
No, yeah, sure. Well, the problem with, that's fine too. The thing is, people knew what to expect from a social network by the time Facebook came along, because MySpace had existed, and Zanga had existed, and LiveJournal had existed.
Right. But people, I had to say, people were, I mean, maybe not in Jerome, but 20s, like everyone that was out of college, we were using MySpace. Like when we left comments, that was our wall, the comments. So
I was on MySpace too. I mean, I had MySpace before, because I was on MySpace in my high school and middle school. So that was before Facebook came along.
Yeah, and then Friendster was before that, and I was on that. And that's actually, Friendster was, I mean, I did AOL and all that stuff, but Friendster was the first breaking away where there was a website where it's like, all right, now there's this website to check out Friendster. I'm like, oh, okay.
I was never on Friendster.
And I connected with high school people on Friendster. It was like, oh, look at all these high school people. Mm-hmm. So that was first. And then someone showed me MySpace, and I'm like, oh, this is like a color version of Friendster. And then Facebook was like just a cleaner version of MySpace. And then plus Twitter. When Twitter, I was sure. Twitter was like, all right, I get it, but it's not social network in the same way. And now it's like strangers and all that. So, although I would always use, once I was network marketing, I was adding everyone on Facebook, and I had the whole thing with Facebook where it's like, do you really know this person? You don't really know this person. Yeah. Like, you have to stop adding people's friends now. But, but But
really strange. Facebook, what's going to get Facebook in the end? What Google Plus has over Facebook, well, there's a few things, but Facebook has limited people to who they know for the most part of their existence. Now people can subscribe to other people, but since it's not normal,
the culture, yeah,
it's not in the culture of Facebook to do that. Some people do it, and some huge stars have people subscribing to them, but even then, it's still kind of an awkward relationship with the person they're subscribed to. But on Facebook, people are so segregated into their own lives and getting out of their own lives by joining groups and liking things that other people like is an ancillary benefit that is coming too late into the game for them to really take advantage of that. Google Plus is meant for people to discover and to talk with other people. That's why
people don't know that.
Not yet. I know. I know.
People don't know that, and now Schemer came out finally. This new feature that Schemer came out with to integrate with Plus, with rallying, you can rally people and post directly to Plus, which is all from. And I'm almost 80% sure that all this new feature that came out with Schemer was from the New York City Herald and us interacting with them in the New York office. But yeah.
I loved Schemer when it first came. I haven't used it in a while, not because I don't like it.
I don't use it a lot either. I
didn't know what to do with it after a while.
Yeah, it's just something to play around with. Fuck around with.
There
you go. I know. But it would look. I don't know. I mean, there's so many different arguments that have already been rehashed a million times, and just it's so funny. Peter wrote an article doing everything you love versus finding a niche. Is that because of what we were saying, or that nothing to do with it?
Did he just write it?
He wrote it it posted half an hour ago.
Well, so when Peter was saying, and again, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. But of course, I don't think I am, or else I wouldn't say it. When he writes, he's just trying to start a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He is starting a conversation, but I think that he is looking to pat his own bed somehow with it. I was thinking that when I was hearing that conversation with you guys and Chris Pirillo. Chris Pirillo, I've heard in the past, has talked about, man, Google should hire me. I could help them do this and this and this. So this entire conversation is built around this idea, right?
Yeah, but
the conversation was built around the idea that Google needs somebody inside who will speak out and be the counterpoint and who's not afraid to speak out. But all that time, in my head, from people who are looking in from the outside, and this is what P.E. was saying too, I think, is that people are not stupid. And so what that looks like to me, and what it looked like to other people, is that Chris Pirillo was just saying, here's what Google needs, this is going to be the great, and everybody was like, yeah, this is so great. And then he's like, and then he starts saying, here's what I do. And he's like, I'm the counterpoint. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I'm not to do this. I'm not going to do this. And then it's so funny because Peter said, I wouldn't see you working at Google. And then Chris's face was like, because that entire time it looked like he was working up to be a resume. That was his pitch to Google in my mind, and I can't be the only one because it was so obvious to me. He's like, Chris Pirillo was like, I need to be hired by Google because I do all those things, and I'm talking about it right here, And that's what it seemed like. It's ulterior motive, and there was something to be gained there, and I think that's what Peter is doing too. Is that it's not just I'm not just posting this as a conversation, but this isn't working out for me because I'm not getting something from it. By having this conversation. Maybe they're going to change it, but it's really saying, hey, I'm not benefiting from this, and I need to be, because one, here's what I'm doing. I'm making this great content. I've got this consulting business. I need people to find me. It was his post, and maybe even though it turned out some good it turned out well because people were talking about it, and it was a good conversation, but it was ego-driven. It was egotism. It was an idea of self-worth that was not earned. Which is a problem with people who have newfound social media success, people who are newfound social media influencers. I've noticed it from the beginning of Google+. I would dare say that it was definitely affecting me for a while, where I was just like, man, I'm doing a lot of work. I'm spending a lot of time writing and creating and being an evangelist. And when that first suggested user list thing came out, that's when I realized that before people started talking about it really, and before even Scoble changed his mind, I was like, man, people are right. I wish I was on this user list. I've been working so hard. But then after people talked about it, and people were like, nobody asked you to do that. You're doing it, and that's totally great. I realize I was in the wrong, you know? I'm doing it because I like to, and now that's why I do it. But there's ulterior motives there, and they're not thinly veiled. They are, they are thinly veiled ulterior motives. And I'm just like...
I think about, listen, I'll say it, I think about the stuff that I want to see and I want to create, but I also think about how much better and bigger and greater it can be. And so, like, a show like I'm doing, a collaboration of shows and going that way, and how much, and if we had more support, whether it was not just, it doesn't be Google sponsors or other people, production companies or whatever, hooking up and doing that, it could just be that much better. And then, of course, there's an opportunity where we can make a living somehow if we get involved with Google TV and Roku Boxing and all that stuff, and sponsors and merchandise and whatever. But I mean, I know it takes time. I know it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I think that beach. It doesn't necessarily have to be just useless, but featuring stuff that's being done on Plus, like, to me, the Hangouts on Air right now, like, it seems to be, or have been, this big rage, like, oh, I want to get it, I want it, this, that, you know, and I had actually been, like, just been broadcasting, and then I knew it was something that was coming, and, you know, I got it, but the idea that it's out, I know it's still tweaking it, and maybe that's why, but it seems to me that, and I suggest this, I said have a page for Hangouts on Air, have a place where people can see Hangouts on Air, and, like, just makes sense to me from a social point of view, media view, user experience, whatever, that people would be able to find Hangouts on Air a lot easier than they have been, and that's in Google's court to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they have certain obligations. They do have certain obligations. I mean, if they're going to present something like Hangouts on Air, for example, or a feature, then why not make it easier for people to access? The API is something that people have been talking about for a while. It would be so great if they released, you know, a fully functional API that people could to goof around with and make awesome stuff. Look at what people have created with their limited API. Mohammed Mansour, it makes the coolest shit.
Yeah.
But they have obligations there, but the obligations, not only obligations, but it benefits them. I mean, it's a personal obligation to themselves. You're making this cool stuff, allow people to goof around with it. But again, we don't know the scope of their plans.
We don't know we don't know what the upper echelon, what they have in mind, and what they may or may not do, and so
they're not obligated to tell us either.
No, and Bradley was saying he chimed in and he was like, guys, if you only know what's around the corner and stuff. And like, to me, I want to debate things, I want to talk about things, but I do still I want it to be, hopefully it's interesting and fun and entertaining, all of those things. So it's all a combination of that. So it was great, the conversation, everyone that was involved, and you know, I try to be diplomatic and, you know, and play devil's advocate and try to get both things out of everybody and see, you know, like, oh, you don't like this, why didn't like this, or the opposite, or who agrees with him and who doesn't agree. I mean, I've gone back and forth on things before, flip-flop, not like terribly, but anything important. But
I think right now, what's going to be best for people is to, I mean, you got to have a little faith in that. You got to have a little faith in the Google company right now. I know it's hard to say, you know, but this is their baby.
Yeah, but look, I've been drinking the Kool-Aid for a while, and people criticize me for drinking the Kool-Aid, and you know, and I'm all for looking at it the other way, and even agreeing with a little bit of it, because there's a lot. First of all, if you have a social network or whatever you want to call Google Plus, whatever you think it is, there shouldn't be bugs. Not at this point. Like, we shouldn't have bugs that we have. Like, and maybe the regular user doesn't see them, but we still see things, and they have been better now that I think about it. But just like there's certain, like, for instance, they've made Google Plus for a regular person to use. They haven't made it for someone like a power user. Like, maybe they consider it spam, but like, I like to tag a lot of people or share with a lot of people or whatever. And there's something called too many ACL entries, which I get all the time, which means I'm trying to share something with just too many people at once. Mm-hmm. But that was like a technical little thing that popped up, and and it wasn't like self-explanatory for most people. Would be like, well, why can't if you are just a regular person trying to share with a lot of people. I mean, there was just one example, but so if Google's priority should be to not. It's not just that, but also there were a lot of things that happened, like limits and things, and eventually they told us, sort of. We had to like sit there and figure it out ourselves. Like there's not like they didn't put it out there, say, hey, you can only follow this many people or have that many people in your contacts or.
Yeah,
like
it's the difference between owning an iPhone and an Android. iPhone just works. Android, if you want to fix it, you got to learn how to fix it.
Yeah, but you can't have that for a social network, I don't think.
Okay.
No? Can you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any strong opinion about that. Not yet, because I've never thought about it. So, I don't know. Fuck.
Grandma's not gonna like want to have to learn how to fix it.
I don't think it's ideal, but I also think it's unavoidable sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's like if you have experience where there are things like that happening, and you must see it all. You've seen it where like Gtalk like disconnects or right, try again, and like there are errors in Gmail and things like you've seen yellow errors and that kind of stuff doesn't really exist on Facebook, right?
No, you're right. Yeah. Well, I mean, depends on how. Well, Google is a bigger monster than Facebook. That's why they have so much shit going on that Facebook cannot endeavor to recreate. Well, they can endeavor to, I suppose, but they're not there right now. Facebook Plus is again like somebody had said, maybe it was even you, I don't remember, is a social layer on top of all their other products.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Google Plus is a social network. It's an omni network. It is the one-stop shop. The future is a one-stop shop for an entire digital experience that one would need. That's what Google's going to turn into. That's what Plus is going to turn into.
Yeah, they want people to think. A lot of people think Facebook's the internet. For a lot of people, Facebook acts as their internet, and Google Plus wants it that position.
Well, yeah, and Google Plus is in a better position to offer that because they have search, Google search, and YouTube. I mean, that's.
And Facebook feels like they have search and they have Bing, so.
Bing.
Well, people use Bing though. And Bing doesn't have, and Bing doesn't have search plus your world. And some people, and you can turn it up, and not everybody knows that.
Yeah. Well, I think that search plus your world should be opt-in. Like you should have normal search. If you want to see what your people are saying, then you can click on it. That's what I think it should be. I don't know why they haven't done that.
Well, no, there is a thing to turn off.
Well, I know, but I don't know why the default is search plus your world and not just normal.
All right, I think. Give me a thought to wrap up, and I don't know if I'll even use this because I feel like I can pass out. Let's see, Matt.
I enjoyed the conversation. Yep, that's all I need.
Yeah, cool, and it's cool that you latched on. But see, so that's I think Google Plus. It's building an audience, and that's really what it is. It's another place to build an audience, and I think that if you can build an audience and keep an audience and keep them engaged, not that most people would go and uncircle you, but keep building an audience, keeping them engaged. It does take time, it does take work, and I think people, the idea that it's just a user list. Yeah, you could be on it and get a lot of people that could give two craps about you, but I think the idea that you can not post anything for a day or 2 days and still gain 10,000 a day, even if though you might lose a couple people that were more valuable because they're like, why isn't he posting? Because he posts, or I don't know. I'm just giving examples, but
the funny thing is about not posting is if you're not posting, people aren't going to notice that you're not there because the stream is so filled. So
but that's just it. If you have an audience that is following you, I've had people, and this sounds in my head, it sounds egotistical, but I've had people say to me, they've written to me, they've said to me, you make Google Plus for me. I read everything you do. And that I come here to see what you're gonna put up. So
I've had that.
So you've had that too. So with that, that doesn't matter what's in their stream. Not they're going to go to your profile if they want, or circle of one, or whatever it is, right?
But would they really uncircle me because I wasn't posting for a while?
They wouldn't do it, but I'm just saying that.
See, I think encircling, the act of encircling takes more effort than a lot of people are willing to give.
All right, maybe not. Okay, maybe not uncircle, but I mean, because I went away 2 or 3 days, and everyone thought was what happened, was wondering what happened to you. Like, that's this place. Like, if you're away a day or 2 days or a week, or it's like they think you vanished.
For you.
Yeah, not for everybody.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, Christina, I used to read everything I do read everything she writes, and we had a mini falling out over Sociology Plus, and we don't really talk anymore, but I still read what she writes. But I didn't realize that she hadn't posted since February 2nd the other day, because I was just curious where she had been. But it took me a long time, and she was one of my, one of the first people I was really like, oh, another content creator. And, I didn't uncircle her because she hasn't posted since the 2nd. Well, now I guess she posted according to Aaron.
Well, no, but you have a relationship. I think if you have a relationship with them, with someone. And I don't necessarily think that people would uncircle. I think it's just a matter of people are like, all right, I'm posting and I'm continuing to build an audience organically or whatever. And I think the idea that once people get on this list, or if they're on the list, that they literally can go fly a kite for as long, a day, a month, whatever. And when they do post, not only will they continue to keep getting followers whether they post or not, but when they do post, there's a better chance of it being on this hot list and that getting even more followers and more notice and more attention. And so I think that's what it means in the end, how much attention, followers, and all that. That's another discussion. But I think the idea that earning quality followers versus just earning everybody is the argument. And so, and I think that's it. I think that and there's some ego, there's definitely ego involved, but it's a matter of I don't know. I mean, I can see both sides of it, why people think it's dumb and why people think it's important. And so, I think I would like to continue to grow, whatever that means. If that means a number or not, I don't know, maybe, but it's there's, if we go through, I've done it. I've gone through the user list, and I've gone through, because I want to see who's on this, who are they, what are they posting, what's, on the hot list, who's there, just as an interesting thing, also see what the mindset is of what Google thinks is, this. And, I've gone through it, and plenty of people have 400,000 people following them from being on the list, and people have never heard of, and some of them don't post, and some of them do post, but their interaction is nothing. Yeah. I mean, they might have let's say they have 10 posts on their page, they're all +1, except one is 100 +1s, but everything else is just nothing, or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
So as far as consistency or why people and for all I know, that one thing that has 100 +1s, maybe because when they posted that at the right time, it got picked up on the hot list, and that's why it has 100 +1s, not because it was dynamic. It was just, it was on the algorithm. So, I think that it comes from the frustration of people putting out stuff and working hard on a post or something important to them, and whether they have a following or not, but especially if they have a following, and then not getting interaction or getting a lot, or getting only so much interaction, and then they see the thing on What's Hot that's been posted 50 million times. That's a picture of a butt on a tattoo of a butt, or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And that's now what's hot. That has thousands, and now people are finding that without a problem. It's in front of their faces, and that's What's Hot's even on our stream. So that's the other thing too. What's Hot appears. I know you can turn it down, but most people are not turning it down. They don't know. So, and all the new people that come here that don't follow, What's Hot will still be in their stream. So now, when they don't follow anybody, they still have What's Hot unless they turn it down. But if they, so there's an event. It's basically Google is saying, these people we want people joining Google Plus to see this content and these people, and this is what we. That's I think that is the big argument that everyone else that has community here, and then people say, well, why does it matter? It should matter to those people, or why does it matter to you? But if you're an artist, you're Aaron Wood, or you're a musician, or whatever, you want people to discover you, right? Or everyone wants them to discover them, but. So.
Well, the thing is, it's funny that the what's hot list. What people don't, what I think people are afraid to admit is that, and it's shitty to even have to admit, to even think that it might be true, is that the stuff on the what's hot list, if it's got that many likes and stuff, are what people like to see. That's what people come here for.
That's not true, though.
Is it? I mean, why if it's so successful?
No. Listen to me. So this is what happens. So stuff like you would think. And the way it should work is something has a lot of plus ones and reshares and comments, and then because of that it gets put on what's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Not the case. What happens is that something gets put on what's hot with almost nothing, mm-hmm. and it gets hotter because it's on the list and people see it on the list. They hit +1 because it's on a hot list.
Well, that's how it's true. Well, this is new to me then. How does it get on there to begin with? Well,
that's the $1 million question. But from what we see, it's based on whatever algorithm and curation we believe, or is that like the algorithm's picking up. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. There are a few people that their posts get like a lot of interaction, and by a lot I mean like get like a couple of +1s quickly or whatever, and it'll pop up on there. But I've seen a Scoble post pop up on there, and because he's Scoble, it's on there. But literally, it was like +1 and 1 comment. It wasn't hot yet.
Yeah.
It was literally, as soon as he posted it, it popped up on there. Things like that have happened.
I wonder if it's measured. I wonder if the algorithm measures potential. But then it's funny that if they measure that and puts it on the what's hot list, then it automatically has increased potential.
Well, yeah, anything on the what's hot list is going to have a minimum of pluses and comments and reshares. And so it's not the what's hot list isn't what's hot. It's what we want to be hot, in a sense. But maybe not want to, because if it's based on algorithm. But then I think there is something curate. There are people. There's an algorithm that does the work, and then someone goes through it and will remove stuff they think shouldn't be there. Because there have been things that have popped up and then they got deleted. I've seen it.
Michael Mozart gifts.
Those, and who's to say those aren't hot? I mean, who knows?
Well, the thing is that Michael Mozart is a genius, actually. And he knows exactly what it takes to have a lot of people interact with this post. And by interact, I mean use the functionality to interact like +1 and share. And he'll post GIFs at the right time, where he knows all of his... He actually has said this before in an hangout. Like, he knows that a bunch of people in Asia love seeing GIFs. And when it's prime time, social media time in Asia, and they get up and they see Michael Mozart posting GIFs, they +1 that. And he was able... Remember when I ran that... Remember with you, we were talking about this with Michael Mozart, actually. He might have been there. We might have been in the same hangout when this happened. And then I said, hey, Matthew, share this picture of the dog walking in shoes. Do you remember when I had you share that GIF?
I think so.
Guess what? That GIF made the what's hot, and it was one of my best posts. I mean, best in terms of shares and +1s. I mean, amazing. It's the time that I spend hours crafting a blog post about what Google should do or how I feel about social media. Nothing. I mean, barely any interaction sometimes. But I post a Valentine's Day gift card featuring communist, leader saying something goofy, and I get 1,000 +1s and 700 shares. And I post a funny walking dog and tennis shoes, getting X number of shares. And they both got on the what's hot list. The Valentine's Day one was number 2 almost all day on Valentine's Day. I don't ever think it made it to number 1. But anyways, yeah, so Michael Mozart says, I know when to post GIFs. I know what GIFs need to be, how they're successful. He makes them himself. And they always got on what's hot list. And he said that he thought that Google was finally just not allowing his GIFs to get on the what's hot list, because he would have more +1s and shares than what was on the what's hot list, but his stuff wasn't up there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not how that's supposed to work, right? I mean, that's how I understand it. But you're right. I don't know. I wish I knew how that list was made. I wish they would tell us. And they don't have the obligation to. But
well, I mean, and listen. I mean, at the end of the day, it's less about whether whether I personally am making the list or either list, the hot or the just user list, and it's more about like telling people stuff is hot based on users versus it being made for them. And so that to me is the real issue, that it's not a user generated. And I think that that's something worth talking about, no?
No, that I agree. I haven't had that conversation.
Yeah, that it's not user made and that it's Google made. And so that to me is, I mean, basically, like, I think Amanda had been on top of what's hot a few days in a row, and I literally said she did like what's hot like once or twice at the top. I said she just has to post and it'll get there, and the next day again. So, and it's not a bad. It is what it is, but the point is it's not hot because of the person. Well, not because of the content, because of the person, but because the person's on the list or is whatever. Or, I mean, look, I see Michael Mozart's actually on the hot list.
Is he?
Right now for the WikiLeaks thing.
Oh, yeah.
But trying to scroll down, you can always scroll down to the very bottom and find the brand new stuff that pops up, which to me is the most interesting because to see who it is and what it is, and it's less about it's just how it's another feature in Google Plus that's here and influencing the network. And so I know Joanne, she made it. She's got February 29th plus 1 day. That's kind of funny. 3 comments plus 39 shares.
And Michael Mozart with 24 shares, 32 shares underneath him. 55 shares for Steamer. Now that could have been on there for longer.
So today is Happy Leap Day, right?
Yeah. I don't even know. What does that mean?
What?
What is today? Sorry, it's Leap Day?
Yeah, it's a leap year.
So that means we have 30 days in February?
No, 29, because usually there's 28.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's the 1 month.
I'm an idiot.
No, it's fine. It's late and...
That should be common knowledge.
No, it's fine. I know I look young, but I will be 34.
Yeah, people tell me I look young. I didn't know you were 34, though.
Not yet, not till May, so
Okay.
I'm holding off to be 33 for a little bit longer.
I'm 25. People tell me I look like I'm 17.
We all get it. We all do.
All right, I'm actually heading to bed now. No more talking.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
All right, good night. Thanks for being part of whatever this was.
Yeah.
Good night.